Let's do this, guys. Let's do this.
Bang, bang, not a game.
Duval!
Purdy out of the shotgun, drops a couple of steps, going to take a deep shot to Brandon Ayuk. It's deflected and caught.
Cousins, first read taken away. Left side, he throws. Wide open pass.
From being able to make a play on that football.
That's where Sutton was so good last year in the red zone.
Nix evades the run. Nix the fake. Another fake, and he spins into the end zone.
They're going to get a free play. Rodgers is the master at it, and a touchdown by Lazard. Jones on the fake. Pressure coming, and he's sacked by Parsons.
God, corner.
Motion man Hudson.
The throw caught. Hudson lost the ball. Looked like a touchdown. Instead, it's a turnover.
On the pocket. Cuts away from Chenal, who's trying to get after him for a second time, but the ball is thrown to the end zone, and it's caught! On it to McCaffrey, right up the middle, and a stiff arm, McCaffrey for 6.
Well, how's it going, everybody? Welcome into another edition of The Extra Point. My name is Isaiah Leong, and tonight we're running it back to a couple of years ago to the good old days. I am joined by my guy, the sports judge, Jonathan Mathis, man. It's been forever since we did a show. I've been wanting him to come on to do a show with me for a while, but it just hasn't worked out until today. Well, here we are, man. It's going to be a great show. We're going to talk a lot of football, man. We're going to go through everything in the NFL. It's been a crazy week in the NFL, but what's up, Jonathan? How are you doing, man?
What's up, my man? And you said crazy week. Man, it's been a crazy year thus far in the NFL. It's been a lot of drama and excitement. And, man, I mean, each week has brought on something new and something different. And I think that's what fans crave, right? They want to see the excitement and the buzz and the electricity, and it's just been great all year so far. But how are you doing, man? It's a pleasure to be back on. I know it's been a minute. Hey, maybe we should run it back.
Yeah, man, that's a great idea. Maybe we should definitely do it because I know back in 2020 and 2021, man, I mean, it was just so much fun doing shows with you consistently. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's been crazy in the NFL. A lot of stuff been going on, man. We've got wide receiver trades. We've had some really great games happen over the past week and also the past month as well. So can't wait to break it down. I'm good. Man, I've just been, working, doing shows as they come and watching a lot of football. It's just Jonathan, it's just been one of those times this year where it's honestly like the greatest time in sports because you literally have like college football. We had all these great games over the weekend, Oregon and Ohio State, LSU and Ole Miss, and then you have the NFL with all the great games, and then you have the wide receiver trades, Devontae Adams going to the Jets, and then we have baseball going on. Your Dodgers are in the NLCS. Congratulations to you guys for winning the game tonight. And we potentially could get Dodgers Yankees World Series. I mean, that would be absolutely epic. And then not to mention the NBA is coming back as well. So it's just truly a great time in sports right now.
Yeah, it's a great time to be alive. It's a great time to be a sports fan. This is one of my most favorite times of the year when you look at the sports calendar, because you got NHL, it just started back. You got the NBA. Everything's like in full circle, right? Everything's like making a comeback. And then I also like March. I think March is an exciting time because then you got the NBA playoffs approaching. You got March Madness, probably the best postseason in all of sports. You can really make that argument. So those are my two favorite times of the year. And then I like around the holiday season too, because you're getting closer to bowl season. So you got that going on. And of course, the main event that everyone looks forward to, Super Bowl Sunday. So.
Yeah, and speaking of the Super Bowl, I mean, you thought last week was great with all the games. I mean, this week we got Sean Payton going back to New Orleans to face his former team tomorrow night. Then we got the Super Bowl rematch with the Niners and the Chiefs. And then we've got Georgia versus Texas. So, I mean, this is going to be a epic weekend of sports. Cannot wait. But let's get into it here with some football action. Let's get in before we get into our team reports as well as some games from week 6. Let's get into the big story that broke yesterday, and that is Aaron Rodgers finally got his guy. He finally got his man. Davante Adams is a New York Jet. The Davante Adams trade saga is officially over. The Raiders traded Davante Adams to the Jets for, I believe, a conditional 4th-round pick, and also the Jets are paying the entirety of Adams' salary moving forward. Sports Judge, I'll give it to you first on this, man. What did you make of this trade, and did you think that this trade, puts the Jets back into that conversation of Super Bowl contention?
Are you surprised? Are you really surprised? Because I'm not surprised at all. It has finally happened. It's officially done. Davante Adams will be a New York Jet, just like I thought he would be. And this has been talked for weeks, right? We've been talking about this for weeks now, that he will most likely end up with the Jets because of the quarterback there. The quarterback there is Aaron Rodgers. He used to play with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, and and during their time there, they developed great chemistry, right? They have this connectivity. It's a brotherhood. Those two guys love each other. And I think honestly, Isaiah, I think those two need each other to have great success at this point in their careers. They're two veteran players. And I think this move just makes a lot of sense for the New York Jets. Look, the New York Jets are desperate right now. They're desperate. They're 2-4 on the season. They just fired their head coach, Robert Saleh. Now you got an interim coach. And I feel like Aaron Rodgers, if you looked at his body language last week, particularly in that London game, he's sitting on the sideline looking very frustrated. And a lot of that frustration is that he's not clicking with his receivers. He has grown increasingly frustrated with his wide receivers. Because they're dropping passes, or they're just, he throws the ball one way and they're running in another direction. So he's not connecting with his receivers. And obviously, Aaron Rodgers has a trust issue. Well, now he has Davante Adams, who he trusts tremendously. And so now I think what this does, I don't know if this helps them get to the playoffs. Maybe it does. I don't know how much Davante Adams fixed the Jets, because there are issues deeper than this on this team to me. You fired the coach is gone. You got an interim coach, and I expected them to lose the game against Buffalo, because you're not expected to be handed a playbook and learn it in the next 8 days. When was he fired? 8 days, 7 days ago, something like that?
I think like 5 days ago, actually.
You're right. You're not going to adjust to a new playbook fairly quickly. So the Jets have had a lot of problems, and a lot of those problems are because of self-inflicted errors. Most of those errors have been committed by their wide receivers. So, I mean, now that you have Davante Adams, does this clean up a lot of things offensively? Does this make them a more disciplined team on that side of the ball? Because you saw in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, man, that was his go-to receiver. And on a lot of those plays designed, you know, when you look at those plays, most of the time his intended target was Davante Adams. But, I mean, I think it remains to be seen how much this helps Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets going forward.
Sports Judge, I get your point, but I think, I think that for me, that this move, I think the Jets are back. I think that this really signals that Gotham City has been awakened with this move, because I think the Jets' issue offensively was that I felt like it was clogged up, their offense, especially their passing game. Garrett Wilson is a really good, dynamic, explosive receiver. He's a wide receiver one. So he had all the attention that was, attracted towards him. And so the other guys like Allen Lazard, Mike Williams, they were supposed to be that other dynamic wide receiver that would help take some of the defense off of Garrett Wilson. But I just think that, Mike Williams, sadly, he's not the same after his torn ACL. Allen Lazard is a good receiver, but he's not that explosive, dynamic receiver that, can take a top off the defense and also can put fear into a defense. I think Davante Adams helps unlock the offense for the Jets, because now if you're the opposing team and you're playing defense, you can't put all your attention on Garrett Wilson, because then you have Davante Adams to deal with, and it's vice versa as well, because you can't put all your attention on Davante Adams because then you have Garrett Wilson as well. And then one of those two guys are going to be going up against a cornerback number 2 for the other team. It's basically pick your poison at this point. And then if you focus on Wilson and you focus on Davante Adams, then you have Allen Lazard, who is also a very trusted target of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers always goes to him when, the pressure is coming to him. And even Conklin, the tight end, he's been very efficient in the passing game as well. And also, that helps. I feel like this helps open up the run, because now with the Jets being able to throw the football and threaten teams with the passing game, with Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson and Davante Adams, then, now you can't just stack the box. Breece Hall is able to, run through defenses. So it's basically like, I feel like, now opponents have to pick their poison with the Jets. Are you gonna die going up against their passing game, or are you going to die going up against their running game? And I feel like this just unlocks a lot of stuff for the Jets. I think that's what they were missing. They were missing that like number 2 receiver who could be like explosive and dynamic like Garrett Wilson, and also be like a trusted target of Aaron Rodgers. Because I felt like, Mike Williams, like I said, was supposed to be that guy, but he's just not the same, sadly, after that torn ACL. And, I think, Sports Judge, this really reminds me of the Brady Buccaneers when in his first year. A lot of people don't realize this, but the Buccaneers started off very slow. They were like, I think 7-5 or 6-6 at one point, and then they really shook things up mid-season, and then they went on their run. I felt like this kind of reminds me of that. I feel like the Jets just needed a shakeup to help unlock everything. And then I think that, I'm not saying they're going to go and be a Super Bowl team, but I think when you look at the AFC right now, I know Buffalo just got Amari Cooper. I know that Kansas City is still Kansas City, but outside of that, like, there's really no team that really you look at and you're just like, wow, like that team really scares me, and I put them ahead of the Jets. Like, I think with Davante Adams, I really think it will help a lot. The main concern for me, though, with the Jets is their run defense, because they've been very poor stopping the run, which is uncharacteristic of them. They've been very good against the pass, but teams have been able to run all over them, which is what you never see from the Jets. So I do like this move. I think that the Jets did a great job making this move. I'm glad the Jets did it, because, you have Aaron Rodgers. Like, you have a window of like 1 or 2, 3 years maybe. So you got to go all in. So like all this, I've heard a lot of talk about people saying like, oh, the Jets they're paying Devontae Adams a lot of money and this and that. Like, you got to do it because at the end of the day, like, you gave up a 4th round pick, but I rather have, and I think you too, we would rather have a Devontae Adams than a 4th round pick, because the thing with rookies is they never pan out, and especially that late in the draft. So, yeah, for me, I like this move a lot for the Jets.
It's not only about rookies not panning out, it's also that the Jets feel like, Woody Johnson especially, feel like they are in win now mode with Aaron Rodgers, with that defense that they have. They feel like this is a contending team. And maybe Devontae Adams, as you explained really well, is the final piece to their Super Bowl contending roster. I mean, I really don't know. We will have to see more to really make that judgment. But I mean, Devontae Adams does definitely help, and he will be where Rodgers expects him to be, and Rodgers, again, he's comfortable throwing in his direction. And like you said, too, this will also help out Wilson a lot, because now Wilson, instead of being doubled on every play, will become an outrageously overqualified number 2 option, with Adams, Wilson, and Lazard as the Jets' 3 receivers. So, I mean, it's going to definitely be interesting to see. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And I feel like Devontae Adams, because he was very disgruntled and unhappy with his current situation in Las Vegas, I feel now that he's getting a fresh start, that he needed that change of scenery, that he needed to be able to reunite with his buddy. And this is a reunion. And I think now we're going to see him look like his old self with Aaron Rodgers. And we're going to see one of the best quarterback wide receiver combos that we've seen when they were in Green Bay together.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. But let's get into our team reports. So Jonathan, I understand you are a Rams fan. The Rams, sadly, they've been riddled by injuries. Cooper Kupp has missed a lot of time. Puka Nacua was injured the first game of the season. He's missed a lot of time. The Rams, I believe your record right now is 1-4, if I'm not mistaken. They just unfortunately have not been great this season. But Jonathan, the Rams are coming off a bye week this weekend. The Rams, they will play the Raiders. They host the Raiders this weekend. It's going to be a great game. But Jonathan, I'll go to you first on this. What's your report on the Rams? Like, what are some players that have stood out to you thus far? What have you liked? What have you disliked? And what's your overall outlook on the team? Oh, you're muted, buddy.
There's not really much to be excited about when you think Los Angeles Rams. I mean, like you said, they've been rattled. They've been beaten up. They've been battered and bruised, and so they haven't been fully healthy. So when a team is not fully healthy, it's very difficult to evaluate a team. You have to see a team at full strength before you can really say how good this team is. But I am disappointed because, I had predicted that this team would win 11 games. And now the way things are looking, they're not going to win 11 games. They're not on pace to win 11 games. And it's just been that type of year for the Rams. And I just don't expect it to be any different anytime soon. And, it's kind of hard to really say who has stood out this year. I know the run game has been, strong at times with Williams doing his thing, but overall, I haven't really got a chance to see much Rams football because they just haven't been that team that has been worth watching, even though I keep a close eye on them as much as possible, but to tell you the truth, they just been so beat up that there's really nothing exciting to really say about the Los Angeles Rams, if that makes sense.
No, that definitely does. I know like your only win thus far has been against my 49ers. That was a game where I felt like we should have won, but then we let you guys hang around and then, let you guys, basically come all the way back, and then we took our foot off the pedal. And it was one of the most demoralizing losses that I've seen in the last couple of years. But yeah, I think with the Rams, like honestly, like it's just been a lot of injuries with you guys. Cooper Kupp, when your two best receivers go down, like I don't care who you have at quarterback or what team you are in the NFL, like you're not going to win basically. Like a lot of games if you don't have a lot of weapons, because the NFL is not just quarterback or running back or defense. You have to have a great quarterback. Plus, you have to have great weapons for him to throw the football. And Matthew Stafford's a great quarterback. But right now, with Matthew Stafford getting up there in age, you just don't have like the adequate weapons with Cooper Kupp not playing and with Puka Nacua not playing. And that's definitely been like a big blow to their offense.
And you know what, though? The thing I can say is that Kyron Williams has looked really impressive. I really like the run game. And, he has really led the way. I think he has 360 yards and 6 touchdowns on the season. So he's been a huge part of the offense. And, that's what the Rams used to do best, right? With Todd Gurley, right? They used to run the football effectively. I feel like when their run game is established early and often, I feel like that opens up their playbook a little bit more. And then the Rams can suddenly become this more creative offense that we've seen in previous years with the Rams, And here's another thing. The Rams have won 5 of their last 6 home games. Matthew Stafford is completing about 60% of his passes, and you got guys like Tutu Atwell and Jordan Whittington who have both combined for 482 receiving yards on 35 catches. And then you got DeMarcus Robinson doing his thing. So they still got weapons, but they don't have their team at full strength. And when your team is not at full strength, you really don't know. You really can't say much about the team until you see them all together. And then that'll tell you more about the team. But as of right now, the Rams are a team that is up and down because of the injuries and because of what they've gone through this season. And, now you face a Raiders team that is very dysfunctional, as we all know. And the Raiders have lost 12 of their last 13 games against NFC opponents.
Yep.
That's like eye-popping to me. And the Rams have won 7 of their last 8 home games against AFC West opponents. So it's like the Rams have the slight advantage going into this game when you really think about it. And then the Raiders have failed to cover the spread in each of their last 5 games at SoFi Stadium. And the Rams have covered the spread in each of their last 4 games against teams that held a losing record. So I would say the favorites to win this game, at least when you look at that, is the Rams, And here's another thing I'll throw out there for you. The Rams have won the first quarter in each of their last 4 October home games against AFC West opponents. So, that's just some things to keep an eye on. And Kyron Williams has scored at least 1 touchdown in each of his last 8 appearances on the West Coast. So if you want me to pick a team that I favor to win this game, it would be the Los Angeles Rams, despite the year they've had.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Rams definitely have a really good shot to win that game. It's definitely going to be a very interesting game. Rams versus Raiders at SoFi Stadium on Sunday. Both teams just kind of Rams being very injured, the Raiders being very dysfunctional. It's going to be interesting to see who wins that game. But going to the other side of the NFC West to my Niners, and Jonathan, I'll tell you, man, the Niners have been kind of disappointing to me, man. Like, I know like some people say like the Super Bowl hangover is not real. Oh, it's real. Like it is very real. And man, I'll tell you, like, I think with the Niners, the problem with the Niners that I have is before when you thought about the Niners, you thought about a team that was led by their defense and their offense just had to do just enough to win you games. Now it's the opposite. Like the defense has been garbage this entire season. They can't rush the passer. They can't stuff the run. They're busting coverages left and right in the secondary. Guys are getting hurt a lot. And then it's been really the offense that's just leading the way. Everybody talks about Brock Purdy, game manager and system quarterback and all of this stuff. Brock Purdy, I think I read somewhere he has the second best completion percentage and he's thrown for like the second most yards in the NFL. And he's number one in terms of like 40 to 50 yard explosive plays, passing plays this entire season. So Brock Purdy's been putting the Niners on his back. He's been proving that, he is a franchise quarterback. The offensive line for the Niners, sadly, they're not blocking well, which I don't know why Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch never fixed that in the offseason because we saw that in the Super Bowl. The reason why Purdy, who had an open Ayuk late in that game, but couldn't get the ball to Ayuk was because the offensive line did a really poor job of blocking. And then you had a guy, I think Chris Jones come in Purdy's face to make Purdy get the ball out quick. And that's why the the Niners ended up not scoring a touchdown on that drive. But I think with the Niners, they play the Chiefs this weekend. They played the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. Like they looked really good in that game offensively. Defensively, I am still not certain about this team because there were times where Geno Smith was not pressured. There was times where the Niners were giving up gashing runs left and right. There were times where the Niners secondary was busting coverages. And you know what really pisses me off, Jonathan, is the special teams. Like the Niners, like normally their special teams is very good. But under Kyle Shanahan, the last couple of years, the Niners have been one of the worst special teams in the NFL. Like, and that's crazy because, special teams, like basically what you have to do is kick field goals and also cover on the punt unit and the kickoff units. And when you're a team that's giving up like the play that really, I think, turned that game around from the Niners routing the Seahawks to it being a close game, and I think you'll agree with me, was that kickoff return after George Kittle caught that touchdown to make it 23-3. Like that really turned the game. And I think the Niners have had several lapses of that against Arizona. We had, a lapse where our special teams gave up a bunch of big kickoff returns against the Rams. They gave up a fake punt. So the special teams have been very disappointing. And, if the Niners don't clean that up, then, it's going to be a major hindrance to them winning a Super Bowl this year. But I think, overall with the team, I'm worried about the defense because come playoff time, like the defense, if they don't get their act together and it's going to be the same thing like last year and the year before with all the Niners playoff disappointments, which is the defense just fails them because they just cannot get after the quarterback. And when they cannot get after the quarterback with Nick Bosa and all these great pass rushers like Leonard Floyd, like I don't even know where he's been to start this season. Like this guy has not had any impact whatsoever, despite signing a big contract. That defense is gonna cost them. I do like what the offense did with Kittle and Juszczyk. McCaffrey, I don't know if he's gonna come back. He's dealing with Achilles tendonitis in both legs. And, I don't want to sound the alarm, but that's typically like a torn Achilles waiting to happen. Like when you have something in your Achilles, that's just a really bad sign there. So I think, the Niners are 3-3 right now, but I have been slightly disappointed about the start for the San Francisco 49ers.
You and a lot of other people have been disappointed in the San Francisco 49ers. Look, the Niners have been uncharacteristically weaker on defense this season. Their defense has been exposed more often than not, and now you go into this game and the health of running back Jordan Mason with his shoulder injury could carry a big impact as well. So now you're looking at this team offensively as well and how shorthanded they may be on the offensive side of the ball. They're already without Christian McCaffrey, as you just said moments ago, and we don't even know if he's going to come back. There's so much uncertainty surrounding him, and I feel like without him, that makes your offense a step slower, because he is the backbone of that offense when he is healthy, because he's a do-it-all type of player. So they really miss his presence a lot. But I think the story around this team has been obviously their defense. They haven't looked really good on that side of the ball. But now you're facing a Chiefs team that hasn't looked perfect all year. And somehow the Chiefs have reminded the entire league why they are the team to beat, even though they haven't really played up to their standards. Patrick Mahomes hasn't played all that great. Like, he hasn't played well. This is an offense that gets bailed out a lot by its defense. So, I mean, I think the 49ers, looking at what they did last week, they're starting to come around, you can say. That win against, was it the Seahawks? It was against the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. That was an encouraging win, right? And I know the Seahawks haven't played all that well, but that still was an encouraging win. It's been a back and forth start to the season, but the 49ers looked like their old selves when they pummeled the Seattle Seahawks in week 6. Obviously San Francisco is trying to avoid this Super Bowl hangover or whatever it is. And I think there was no better way to get over that, if that's what it is, than to beat the team that ended last season on top, So, I mean, the defending Super Bowl champs are coming off a bye week and rested. That would be the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously. And maybe that's a good thing for them, right? The team needed they needed some time off to deal with several inconsistent moments on offense while dealing with injuries. So maybe the bye week helped the Chiefs, but I don't know. I don't really know. This is a tough one to predict. With the way the 49ers have played on defense, it wouldn't surprise me if Patrick Mahomes drives down the field, take his team down the field on the final drive of the game, and somehow, pull off this remarkable comeback. Maybe the 49ers have the lead in this game or something like that, and then the Chiefs just pull off this magical comeback of theirs, or find a way to survive in this game. That's what they've been doing all year. Patrick Mahomes, all he has to do is make one or two big plays and they win the game. The defense takes care of everything else. That's what we've been seeing from the Chiefs all year. But the 49ers, man, I mean, they just been too wishy-washy, right? Too up and down. And a lot of that is what you said is the defense.
Yeah, this game is against the Chiefs is going to be huge because the Niners have just never been able to put Kansas City away and win those games. It kind of reminds me, Jonathan, about like Georgia versus Alabama. Like, remember when Georgia would always play Alabama and they would always have Alabama on the brink, but they just could not put Alabama away until they finally got the monkey off their back and won the national title by beating Alabama. Like, that kind of reminds me of that. Like, I don't think the Niners will be able to win a Super Bowl until you can get that Kansas City monkey off your back. And I think that's why this is a huge game, because it's at your own home. You know, you're coming off 10 days of rest. The Chiefs are well rested as well. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense has not looked great this entire season. Your defense, you know, you cannot play the way you've been playing this season against the Chiefs, because if you can't get any pass rush on Mahomes and you just let him stand in the pocket all day, well, he's going to put up over 40 to 50 points on you with how bad your secondary is. So it's going to be an interesting game. I can't wait for it. But Jonathan, let's get into our week 6 games, the notable games to discuss. And we'll start in London, where the Jacksonville Jaguars, you know, look absolutely hapless like ever before. They drop another game. The Bears beat the Jaguars 35-16. Caleb Williams went off in that game. Trevor Lawrence, I don't even know what's going on with him. Like, his career is kind of like Deshaun Watson without the off the field issues, where he's just been taking like a downfield turn at the worst possible time. Doug Peterson, he might get fired if the Jags lose another game. And you know what's really interesting, my man, is Doug Peterson after the game was asked about them like losing this game and their bad start. And he said, the Jaguars need a culture change. And when I saw that, I was like, you're the head coach. You're supposed to be in charge of the culture. So if you're saying that the team needs a culture change, are you basically resigning then? Because you're the guy in charge of the culture. You're the guy in charge of the locker room. You're the guy that is, you know, in charge of everything. So what are you doing by saying that? Like, you're the guy that's supposed to change the culture. Now you're saying that the culture needs to be changed. Well, that doesn't make any sense. But I think from what I took away during this game is I think Doug Peterson's days in Jacksonville are numbered. If the Jags lose, I think this weekend to the Patriots, I think that he's going to be fired. But Trevor Lawrence just looks like a disaster right now. He's looked lost. He looks like he doesn't have any confidence. Every time he tries to throw the football, you know, he looks like a little Charlie Brown out there. You know, he looks like a guy that's just shaking whenever he's trying to throw the football, and he's just not confident. And I don't know what's going on with him. The defense has regressed. The Jaguars offense just looks so out of sync. But I think the most important thing was Doug Peterson with that quote. Like that, you like, come on, man. You're the head coach. You're supposed to be the guy to change the culture. And now you're saying the culture needs to be changed. I just don't get that from Doug Peterson. But what was your reaction to the Jags? Another loss for them, 35-16 to the Bears. And what was your reaction to what Doug Peterson had to say about the culture needing to be changed in Jacksonville?
The Jaguars are an unsolved calamity. It's a team that a few years ago, or was it 2 years ago, they dominated their division. And for them to suddenly regress the way they have, it's just mind-blowing to me. Like, this team has taken 5 steps back in all facets of the game. You look at their defense, in all 3 levels of the defense, it's atrocious. You look at the offense. I kid you not, this offense has only 3 plays in their playbook because they run the same play time and again, and the offense is just so bland. It is so predictable, and it is just vanilla. And to me, like you said moments ago, Doug Peterson's days are just numbered. Like, I'm pretty sure by now, because they have a very impatient owner who has large expectations for this team because he paid his quarterback a lot of money. And when you pay your quarterback a lot of money, it's Super Bowl or bust. So I think their owner's patience is wearing thin, and he is going to be looking to make a change, and it's going to start with the coaching staff. So I do think Doug Peterson is on the hot seat. And I think making a comment like that, you're basically saying, fire me. That's like somebody leaving their wallet inside the car on the passenger seat for a person to see it. You're basically telling a person, hey, smash out the window and take my wallet. Well, that's the same thing here. You're basically telling the organization to fire you because this team suddenly needs a culture change. Well, I saw that in week 2, how bad this team looked. I mean, they are terrible. And did you know they're 1 of 4 teams to never reach the Super Bowl? And I can tell you that's not going to happen anytime soon for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to happen anytime soon. I was just as perplexed as you were with Doug Peterson's quote. Like, why would you say that? You know, like, it just doesn't make sense because, like you mentioned, it's basically like you're begging the Jaguars owner, like, hey, just give me my money and just fire me already. And I think that's what's another thing that is what's wrong with Jacksonville. Sadly, Jonathan, I don't think Doug Peterson gives a heck about coaching the Jaguars. It just seems like his heart is not into it. You know, when you make comments like that, it just makes it seem like, you know, you just want your money, you want to get out of there, and you don't even want to be there anymore. And if Doug Peterson really feels this way, I think he should just resign. Like, if you don't want to be there, why force yourself to stay there? I know the money's good and stuff like that, but like, you're basically like not caring. And if I'm Trevor Lawrence, you know, I would be like, you know what? I would refuse to play for a coach whose heart is just not in it.
Right. And I don't know if you've seen my video a few weeks ago about the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I said the same thing you're saying. It's a team that don't care. Like, nobody on this roster gives a damn. Nobody cares. It's as if everyone has quit. You know, and I feel like somebody in that locker room lost the locker room. I don't know if it's Trevor Lawrence, or I don't know if it's Doug Peterson, but somebody in that locker room lost the locker room because obviously they are not playing like a team that cares. They're not a team that plays with a lot of urgency. They don't have a lot of fight in them. And it's as if they don't even want to show up on Sundays to play a football game. It's bad.
Yeah, it's definitely very bad. It's going to be interesting to see, you know, this weekend, Jaguars, Patriots. We'll be predicting the week 7 games in a little bit, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens if the Jags lose to the Patriots. If they lose to the Patriots, who are just god awful, then I think there's going to be like major changes immediately after that game, with Doug Peterson most likely being shown the door there in Jacksonville. But let's go on to the next game, which is the Ravens. They beat the Commanders 30-23. It was a thrilling game. It was a very exciting game, battle of two teams that were in first place in their respective divisions. And John, you know, when you look at this game, it really lived up to the hype. You know, it was back and forth. These two teams going at it. Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson both put on a show. Jaden Daniels, he had 2 touchdown passes and 269 yards of offense or passing to 24 of 35. Lamar Jackson was 20 of 26 for 323 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Derrick Henry was the star of the show. 24 carries, 132 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That Lamar and Derrick Henry connection, it's scary, man. And the rest of the league should be put on notice by that, because when you got Lamar, who is an extremely talented runner, and you got Derrick Henry, who's a very powerful runner, and Lamar just needs to occasionally throw the football, I mean, how can you stop that if you're an opposing team's defense? But I think this game really showed that Washington is a good team. They're a good story, but they still got ways to go in terms of being an actual contending team. You know, their offense is good with Jaden Daniels. I love what I'm watching. Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, and Austin Eckler, and all those guys there. But it's the defense. You know, that defense was really bad against the run. They were all out of sorts when it came to, you know, stopping Derrick Henry. Their secondary was lost all game long. Dan Quinn's got the Commanders in the right direction, But that defense, unless that defense takes major strides, I don't think Washington is an actual contending team. But what was your overall thoughts, and what was a really thrilling game here in Week 6?
Yeah, Derrick Henry made them look silly, but you know what? He could make a lot of defenses look silly. That's just his game, right? He's a power running back. You know, he is effective moving the football. You know, he has the ability to, you know, move the football, and he's very explosive. And I don't know, maybe he was the final piece there. Maybe now the Ravens can make a run to the Super Bowl. You know, maybe he's that one player that can get them over the hump. You know, that's if Lamar Jackson, when the playoffs come, that's if Lamar Jackson doesn't try to prove that he's this elite passer. Because, see, that's what got them in trouble last season. He was trying to do too much. Instead of just playing his game, he was playing like he was Patrick Mahomes. It was as if he was trying to prove to the world that he's this elite passer when he didn't have to do that. So I think, yeah, this team is scary. This team is dangerous. But I think the question is, can they finally get it done in the playoffs? And is Derrick Henry that one player that's capable of leading that team deep into the playoffs, not only deep into the playoffs, but to the Super Bowl? Now that you got a running game, there's no excuse, because now you have all the pieces in place to make a run to the Super Bowl. So I like the Ravens' chances. Lamar Jackson is one of the elite quarterbacks in this league. We know what he can do during the regular season. I think the question that remains is, can he finally get it done in the postseason when the games truly matter? But I do like the Baltimore Ravens. I do like that ground game. I think that ground game has been efficient thus far this season. And, you know, they like to run. And, I mean, they'll beat you with their feet. That's what they do. But the Ravens, they could beat you in a variety of ways, because Lamar Jackson can beat you through the air as well, just as much as he's capable of beating you on the ground. So I really like this team. And then, you know, another player I really like a lot too, Isaiah Likely. He has really come on for the Baltimore Ravens, you know, and I think they have a great receiver in Zay Flowers. You got Rashad Bateman. So, I mean, you got guys, and then you look at the defense. Roquan Smith leads that defense with 56 tackles, I believe, on the season. He is definitely the anchor on that defense. So, I mean, yeah, the Ravens are definitely a contending team. They should win the AFC North. I don't see why they wouldn't, because the Steelers right now, they're in quarterback purgatory, even though Justin Fields has looked like a bright spot for them. You know, the Cleveland Browns are just an utter mess. I mean, that over there, what's going on over there is just incomprehensible. So this is the Ravens division to win, and I don't see it any other way.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. This is the Ravens division to win. What a game. I mean, what a game between two young Jaden Daniels, very young quarterback, very dynamic, but two dynamic stud quarterbacks, and can't wait to, you know, watch these two play for years to come. But Jonathan, I want to get into a game that was just very, very crazy scoring wise and just very interesting. And this was the Buccaneers and Saints game. Take a look at the score, man. The Buccaneers go into New Orleans and put up 51 yards or 51 points, 594 yards of total offense, and they beat the Saints 51-27. But I want you to look at the down there in the box score, the swing. Like, Tampa comes out, they're up. They get off to a 17-0 lead. Then New Orleans roars back with 27, with a 27-7 second quarter, and then Tampa, you know, in the second half, outscores New Orleans 27-0, including 20-0 in the fourth quarter. But I think my biggest takeaway from this game is Dennis Allen needs to be fired. Like, that was a joke of a performance. Like, you are the defensive play caller of the New Orleans Saints. You're the guy that's supposed to be in charge of this defense. And against Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, and the Buccaneers, who are a good offense, they're not a great offense, but they're a good offense. You give up 594 yards of total offense. Like, that's a joke right there. 51 points is a joke. Like, that is a joke of a performance. You didn't get much sacks in this game. You couldn't stop the run. You let Baker Mayfield, like, basically have all day in the pocket. I mean, Jonathan, Baker Mayfield could have literally sat in the pocket, had a picnic on the field, and literally came back and thrown the football. Like, that's how much time he had to throw the football. It was a joke of a performance. And look, Spencer Rattler he had some moments. He was not bad, but I mean, that Saints defense was a joke. And like, the Saints, they started 2-0. And remember, like, the national media was saying, like, oh, maybe the Saints are going to the Super Bowl. Well, the New Orleans Saints have dropped 4 straight, and they're now 2-4 on the season. And, Dennis Allen was already on the hot seat coming into the season. Well, his seat should be flaming hot right now after giving up 51 points, 594 yards of total offense to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just an absolute joke of a performance by that Saints defense. But what was your thoughts on this Buccaneers 51-27 whipping of the Saints?
That Baker Mayfield's in the right place in Tampa. They have really maximized his talent. He has been able to showcase his superpowers since he's been in Tampa. And it's the right system for him. And I think he has adapted well. I think he has shown that he can be a top quarterback in this league, that he can, put up points for an offense. And, I just like his pizzazz. I like his energy. But as far as the Saints, man, they look promising early on. I will say that. But you know what? This team put on a facade. I mean, it really did. And what you said about Dennis Allen, you're not wrong, because Dennis Allen, to me, was never qualified to be a head coach in the National Football League. He's a great defensive mind. I will give him that. I'm not going to take that away from him, because he has been a great defensive coordinator. But being a head coach and a defensive coordinator are two different things. And so I don't think he was the guy that qualified for this job. I think with him, he gets lucky landing head coaching jobs. You saw what he did in Oakland or in Vegas, and then he ended up getting fired. Then he looks up here and gets a job in New Orleans. And I always believed that he was never a great head coach. And there's no way that should have happened. Like, you had a 27-7 lead, and that game takes a major turn like that. I mean, that was a major turn of events. Honestly, I was watching that game, and I stopped watching, Isaiah, because I thought the game was over. I thought that Tampa Bay wasn't going to come back. I was saying, oh man, I think Baker Mayfield and Tampa is just not their day. Like, there's no way they're going to come back from this. And then I see the score. You know how they have the score going across the bottom of the TV? I saw the score and my jaw dropped. I'm like, you cannot be serious. I'm sitting there going, you gotta be kidding me. The Saints did not just lose like that. And I mean, they lost in blowout fashion after they were blowing them out. What a major collapse. Yes, that's a fireable offense. I'm sorry. But you know what? I think Dennis Allen is going to keep his job until the end of the season.
No, I agree. I think he's going to keep his job until the end of the season, but I think that he's probably one of the coaches that's going to be let go. Like you mentioned, I just like you said, I don't think he should have been a head coach. I think he's one of those coaches like a Wade Phillips who is defensive coordinator material. Like he's a guy that is just a defensive coordinator. Vance Joseph, you can throw him into the mix as well. But yeah, I don't think he should have ever been a head coach. And sadly, his days in New Orleans are numbered. But the next game we'll get into, this is interesting. I mean, the Eagles beat the Browns 20-16. You know, we talked about the Browns, what a joke that they are. Deshaun Watson is an absolute mess. But Jonathan, how about Nick Sirianni? I mean, I have never liked a coach. I've never not liked the coach as much as Nick Sirianni. This dude just acts all cocky. He makes it about himself. I remember back when the Eagles made the Super Bowl, he was like, talking a lot of crap to coaches, basically provoking coaches. And he was like, sticking his tongue and waggling it at the cameras and this and that. Like, I just really never was a fan of Nick Sirianni. And, in Philadelphia, the Eagles have gotten off to a bad start, coming off a season in which they lost, I think, 6 out of the last 7 to end the season and, lost to the Buccaneers in the playoffs. The Eagles, starting this season, I think they're 2-3, if I'm not mistaken. But the Eagles, they beat the Browns 20-16. But the biggest story in this game was Nick Sirianni. The fans were booing the Eagles and Nick Sirianni all game long. And fans were chanting "Fire Sirianni" throughout the entire game. And after the Eagles clinched the victory over the Cleveland Browns, Nick Sirianni decided to go to the back where the fans are and start jawing at the Eagle fans, not Browns fans. He started jawing at the Eagle fans and started talking so much crap to the Eagle fans and basically pounding his chest. Jonathan, what's your thoughts on the Eagles? First of all, what's your thoughts on the Eagles win over the Cleveland Browns? And what's your reaction to Nick Sirianni's what he did after they won the game and just talking so much crap to his own fans, not the opposing fans, but his own fans?
Well, Isaiah, what was so impressive about a 4-point win? The Eagles, with all the talent that they have, they should have blown the Browns out of the water. With the year that the Browns are having and the way things are going in Cleveland, that should have been a blowout. I mean, that should have been an old-fashioned ass whooping, if you're the Eagles. And for him to do all that jawing and taunting the fans and all that, you sound like a petulant child when you do that. Dude, calm down. Your team only won by 4 points. It's not like your team won by 20 or 30 points. Your team only won by 4 points, and then you have the nerve to approach the fans and talk crap to them. The fans that pay their hard-earned money to come watch your team, and you're going to disrespect the fans like that? You not only lost the locker room, but you lost the fan base as well. Nobody wants you in the city. And don't you know that Philly, if they really want to, they can run you out of the city? I think they are ready to run you out of the city. I think they are fed up with your antics. I think they are over the fact that you behave like this truculent clown that, people are annoyed by. And most Philly fans, I was listening to radio personalities in Philly, and they were taking calls, and callers were calling in and voicing their displeasure and saying this guy gotta go. And I was listening to one of my favorite YouTubers. I don't know if you heard of him, Broads Media. He talks mostly Eagles, Phillies. He talks all the Philly sports teams, and he was saying, man, this guy gotta go because look, he's not a leader of men. He is not. And that's the reason now I know why the Eagles quit on him last year. If you look at that team, something went wrong for them to have that historical collapse that they did, because they started off the season great and then they took a turn for the worse and they never recovered after that. So something went wrong in that locker room for it to happen. And now I think I know what went wrong. It's the fact that you have a douchebag for a head coach, a poor excuse of a head coach who does not need to be coaching that damn team. because of his behavior and the way he conducts himself is really annoying, it's childish, it's petty, and he needs to grow up. And I think, in all honesty, he needs to be out of a job. He does not need to be there. If I'm Jeffrey Lurie, and if I'm looking for someone to lead this team, it is not Nick Sirianni. Okay? It is not Nick Sirianni. And Nick Sirianni, to me, what he did last Sunday, that was a fireable offense. And then you bring your kids to the press conference with you to try to divert the attention away from you, just so you wouldn't get confronted by reporters. Yeah, this dude's a clown.
No, I agree. That's why I've never liked him from the beginning. I always thought that, he was a little kid in a coach's body. It's just like, it's a joke. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you don't do, like, I didn't like, the cockiness, I remember, you remember last year when they played the Chiefs, they won that game. And then he goes, as he's walking into the locker room, he has the gall to go and yell at Chiefs fans and say like, hey, you like that? You like that we kicked your ass and all this stuff? And then I remember when, his mentor Frank Reich got fired, and they beat the Colts when were having that amazing season that one year. He jumps on the bench and starts yelling at Colts fans because they fired Frank Reich. Come on. Frank Reich did not get fired by Colts fans. He got fired by the Colts. So for you to start yelling at the Colts fans, it's like, what are you doing, dude? And then this incident, I just couldn't believe that Nick Sirianni. I mean, well, you know what? I'll take that back. I could believe it because that's something Nick Sirianni would do. This is a guy that against the Giants, okay, you beat the Giants in a playoff game. He started waggling his tongue on camera and basically started being so cocky. And then in the Super Bowl, against the Seahawks last year when they were winning that game, did you see this? Where last year on Monday Night Football, they're beating the Seahawks. This dude decides to try provoking Pete Carroll and start talking trash to Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll said nothing. And he just started yelling at Pete Carroll from the opposite sideline. It's like, dude, it's not about you. It's about the players. And that's the problem I have with Nick Sirianni. It's like, dude, this dude is not cut out to be a head coach. This dude is just so immature. He acts like a clown. Like you mentioned, he's an absolute douchebag. And he's a big reason why, the Eagles last year, they quit on him. He should have been fired last year. He shouldn't even have been given another year, because you start 10-0 and you go 10-0, you lose 6 of your last 7 to end the season. You miss out on the division title. You lose in the very first round. He should have been gone after that, but I don't know why they kept him. They changed the coordinators. I don't know, man. That with Philly sports, Jonathan, it just makes no sense. I'm a Phillies fan. I don't know why Rob Thompson has not been fired yet. That is a joke right there. But we'll get to that in a different day. But yeah, Nick Sirianni, that dude is a clown. He should have been fired. The Eagles, like you mentioned, you beat the Browns by 4 points. The Browns are not a good team. Deshaun Watson, so you talk about Trevor Lawrence being lost, right? Deshaun Watson, this dude, I was watching that game. 1st and goal at the 3-yard line. He's got a wide open Amari Cooper. He sees him, decides to check him down. No wonder why Amari Cooper decided to request out of Cleveland and go to Buffalo. Heck, I would have done the same thing too. I mean, see me wide open and you throw it to the running back.
Right. And see, here's the thing with that too. Those two were not on the same page. They had not been on the same page since the start of the season. And Amari Cooper's running one way, and you have Deshaun Watson throwing the ball the other way. So, I mean, there was never any connection between those two. I felt Amari Cooper had a better connection with Joe Flacco, who they should have kept as quarterback. I get why Deshaun Watson is playing, because the Browns are trying to do everything to justify the $230 million that they gave to him. But it's not working out. It's arguably, I think you can actually remove the word arguably and say it is the worst trade in NFL history and the worst contract in NFL history, because you saw it 2 Sundays ago when they played the Commanders. The dude quit on the team. He quit the team and literally walked off the field on a 4th down, and people tried to make excuses for him. Once again, Why are we making excuses for this guy? The excuse was that, oh, well, he saw that there were too many men on the field. No, he didn't. He quit on the team. And Kevin Stefanski was hot. He was livid. I don't know if you saw his reaction over on the sideline, but it looked like he could have literally walked up to Deshaun Watson and could have slapped the shit out of him. Excuse my language, but he could have like slapped him silly, for his actions and for the way he handled that situation.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing quitting on your team, dude? And what that tells me is that you're not fully invested in football. And that's what I think is going on there, too. I think his teammates quit on him. I think they quit on Deshaun Watson. I don't think it's so much Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski just won Coach of the Year a year ago. And the offense last year was effective. Why did you change why did you change offensive coordinators? I don't understand that. Then you bring in Ken Dorsey. Ken Dorsey needs to get the hell out of there too, because Ken Dorsey was not a good hire at all. Was not a great hire at all.
He wasn't even a good hire in Cincinnati when he was there. He was fired in Cincinnati.
Right. And he comes in, right? He changes the offensive scheme. And I mean, what is this team doing? I don't even think they know what they're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. They can't even line up properly. Like, what are you? It's a joke of a football team. It really is.
Yeah. No, you're right. Like, it really is. I mean, you look at the NFL right now. I mean, the three teams we just talked about, the Jaguars, the Eagles, and the Browns. I mean, it's just been crazy. Like Doug Peterson with his stupid quote of like, culture needs to change when you're the head coach. Like, come on, man. And then you have Nick Sirianni jawing with fans, and then you have the Brown situation. Oh, wait, if you think that's epic, we'll get into Jerry Jones and the Cowboys in a little bit. That's going to be great to get into. But before we do that, I want to welcome in my guy, Ben Cruz, man. Ben, it's been forever since we've had you on a program here. Man, welcome into the Extra Point, man. I'm glad to have you on, man. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Obviously, Jonathan, it's been forever, I feel like, since I've talked to you. So it's been great to have you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Congrats to your Dodgers tonight on a big win to go up 2-1 the series. Yeah, I'm doing well. And obviously my Patriots, they've been awful this year, but I've been really I was really content with how Drake played in his first ever playoff game. It was not playoff game. Performance, hopefully playoffs down the road for him. Well, obviously when he gets more recognition and more reps and stuff like that. But against a team like Houston with a really good front, with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. Yes, he obviously had some tough mistakes in this one, but it was his first game and it was going to happen. I was pretty content with how he played, and hopefully he can just build off of that. And I think just for us this season, it's going to come down to just how he looks, and hopefully from there in the offseason we can kind of get him some pieces and kind of get this official new order kind of kicking in and stuff like that. So I'm doing well, and hope you guys are doing well.
Yeah, Ben, let me get your takes on a few. Just let me give you a quick rundown of what we've gone through. Let me get your takes on it. If you want, you can just squeeze it all together. But
Sure.
What was your thoughts on the Eagles win over the Browns? Me and Jonathan were talking about Nick Sirianni jawing with the fans. We both think it's a clownish move what he did, and he should absolutely be fired. And also, like, if you have any thoughts on the Browns, you could squeeze that in. And also, what was your thoughts on, the Jags just looking absolutely hapless? Doug Peterson after the game saying, we need a culture change, but you're the head coach. Makes no sense. What was your thoughts on those two or the three situations?
Yeah, I think with the Eagles, they obviously are coming off of a bye. They get some receivers back, with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, and I thought that the Eagles, they barely won this game. I think it was because they just it was one of those where they just were kind of able to get everything together piece wise, but they found a way, right? So a win's a win, but just the way that Nick Sirianni was like acting like you won like the NFC Championship game afterward. Like, dude, like first of all, you barely won. Second of all, you barely beat a team that's been god awful this year. That has a ton of question marks. That has a coach and a quarterback that have not seen eye to eye throughout most of the season, and you just moved on from your top receiver, and Amari Cooper. So, I mean, yes, obviously celebrate it. It's what it is, but don't be like jumping for joy. I think a lot of fan bases were looking at that like, is this guy crazy? Which he already is crazy. And for a guy that's had a ton of heat, I think that's the last thing he needs right now is to start jumping up and down like he won a championship game, instead of kind of focusing on to the next game and hopefully trying to improve this team because the Eagles definitely have a ton of question marks, but they definitely should beat a team like Cleveland, and they were able to. In terms of Jacksonville, I will say they're kind of like the Patriots right now, except kind of in a tier that's a lot more disappointing for them. They were one of the best teams in the AFC last year in the first half, and then the second half they just totally collapsed. This looked like a team in the division for most of the season last year that looked like they're going to be a playoff team. And it's crazy to think because when you look at the Jacksonville team on paper, I thought that this year they'd have a stretch where they'd be, you know, I know like kind of early on in the season, a couple games, it's like, you kind of can see there might be a struggle here and there, but like there's a lot of it. And I think it just relies on, like you mentioned, Doug Peterson. There's been countless questions from the media to him in terms of like job security. He doesn't seem like thrilled about it. He's not really concerned per se, but like you're the head coach and you're expected to, especially when your team is not performing consistently, right? So their defense has not been great. That's actually the Patriots will be playing next is the Jaguars. So I actually feel good that the Patriots can win this game because I would love to see it. I know the Patriots are not going to have a lot of wins this year, but I think that this could be one that they can win. Trevor Lawrence, the last couple of years, including this year, he's just not playing up to his contract at all. I know that it's been fine, but it's not obviously up to kind of what they paid him for. So, defensively, offensively, they have quite a lot of question marks, and of course, the coaching as well. Cleveland and Jacksonville just have a lot of similarities in kind of where they are. Cleveland's kind of more of in a dumpster fire per se. Deshaun Watson obviously is a quarterback that has completely fallen from grace. I mean, this guy was recognized for a long period of time as one of the best quarterbacks in the league with Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson before everybody else kind of came around like Justin Herbert and Josh Allen. Deshaun Watson was one of the guys. And then pretty much ever since the scandal and all that stuff kind of happened, pretty much after that happened, you kind of knew some rust and stuff like that was going to happen maybe like a year or two after. But essentially every single season has gotten worse and has not progressed at all. And it makes no sense. Even when you bring guys in like Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper and you have guys around him, it still doesn't matter. So you can make an argument that he was broken without guys, but now he's broken with guys. So it's just completely everything is broken with him. And, I think a lot of fans are just like not really feeling bad at all just because like the way like things kind of just went with him off the field. But I just think it's more of a shocking development than anything because this was a guy for a long period of time that was extremely talented and just completely all of his talents have gone shot. So yeah, that's pretty much what I think.
Yeah, no, I agree with all your points, Ben. It's definitely been very, very shocking to see what's been going on with Deshaun Watson. But, we move from one dumpster fire to another, and now let's go into the biggest dumpster fire, and that is the Dallas Cowboys laid an absolute massive egg. I was watching that game, Jonathan and Ben, and I was just downright laughing because the Dallas Cowboys, not only did they lose, they lost 47-9, lost by 38 points to the Detroit Lions. And guess what? It was on Jerry Jones's birthday too, that they lost. And let me just tell you guys this. They lost 47-9. By the way, before we get into the Cowboys part of this, prayers go up to Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, what a devastating injury to a young, amazing player, man. Hopefully, he has a speedy recovery and a very successful recovery from that surgery. But that's a big loss for the Lions. But for the Cowboys, they lose 47-9. Dallas this season is 0-3 at home. They've been blown out all 3 times. And Jerry Jones on Monday had the nerve to go on a Dallas sports talk radio, fellas, and say this. This is what Jerry Jones said. He said, listen, let me tell you what I'll do about it. I'll let us sit down and look at the decisions we made over the last several years, okay? I'll look into it. Now, if you think I'm interested on a damn phone call with you over the radio and sitting here and throwing all the good out with the dishwasher, you've got to be smoking something over here this morning. And you know, I really don't care. And I don't even want our listeners listening to me talk about it. This is not your job. Your job isn't to let me go over the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job. Jerry went on to basically threaten that he could have the Dallas radio host fired and replaced for his comments. Just an absolute mess right now in Dallas. Jonathan, I see your reaction to this. You know, we've had just so many clown moments so far in the NFL that we've talked about. But Jonathan, I think this is the biggest one so far. Jerry Jones going on live Dallas radio and threatening the host to have him fired because he was asking him questions and critiquing Dallas's performance. First of all, what's your thoughts on the Cowboys' loss? And also, do you think Mike McCarthy should be fired at the bye week for Dallas? Because Dallas is on a bye week right now. His seat is flaming hot. And what are your thoughts on this whole Jerry Jones situation that he goes on radio and tries to have the host fired?
Well, I'll come back to the Dallas Cowboys and the Mike McCarthy thing. I want to first and foremost start off with the whole Jerry Jones thing, because Jerry Jones is the only owner that I know who speaks to the media. Do you hear any other owner around the league talking to the media? He always has to have the spotlight. He always has to make a scene. He always has to tell somebody off or say something to the media. And then, of course, everyone reacts to it. And everyone is talking about Jerry Jones because Jerry Jones wants to be the owner. He wants to be the spokesperson. He wants to be the general manager. He wants to be the fan. He might as well suit up on Sunday and go play the football game too, because Jerry Jones is trying to be everything for the Dallas Cowboys. He wants to have every single job title for the Dallas Cowboys. And quite frankly, it's annoying. It's annoying as hell. You cannot have someone fired just because your team is sucking really bad and you don't like what people are saying about your team. Well, damn it, do something about it then. If you don't like what people are saying about your team, then how about you step down as the general manager, you give up power, and you hire a general manager, because until then, you're not going to win much of anything. And the problem with the Dallas Cowboys, now let's talk about the Cowboys, because the problem with the Cowboys is that they're sloppy and that they're a very undisciplined football team. Now, I've said this time and again about the Dallas Cowboys. They're a very undisciplined football team. They got their ass whooped at home. It was an ass whooping. That's what it was. It was a beatdown on their own field. Cowboys fans are going to have a heart attack at some point because this is happening periodically. It used to didn't happen until the month of December, where they would start performing choke jobs, and January, where they would just completely disappear. Now they're disappearing in October and September. And now everyone in Cowboys Nation is freaking out. They're losing their damn mind because this team is getting exposed. And, you know, I mean, look, I have to cut the defense some slack, right? I'm not going to hold the defense accountable the same way I'm going to hold the offense accountable. And the reason being is because the defense right now is just banged up, right? You was missing Michael Parsons. You didn't have him out there. But Michael Parsons is so damn busy doing a podcast with Darius Slay that, you know, when he's out there, he can't even focus on the game. He's not even getting to the quarterback when he is out there. And the thing that is really concerning with the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, there's a lot of problems with this Dallas Cowboys team, but one of the biggest problems is their inability to stop the run. They cannot stop the run. Anybody can run on them all day. Hell, I'm not that fast of a runner. I could probably run all over the Dallas Cowboys defense. I mean, that's how atrocious it is, And, I mean, this is just an all-around bad team. They're really an overrated team. And the reason for that is because they are, quote-unquote, America's team, right? And they are this valued NFL franchise that is beloved coast to coast. We all know that about the Cowboys. But, hey, the product is not matching up well with, with the fact that they are this valued franchise. I mean, it's just, I don't know. The Cowboys are just a train wreck too. And I mean, you can't just sit here and blame it all on Dak Prescott either. I mean, Dak Prescott was sloppy last week. He had 2 interceptions in the game, right? He threw some picks, and he's going to have to clean that up. And if the Dallas Cowboys want to have a chance, well, you know what it comes down to? Dak is going to have to make plays in big moments. Can he make plays in big moments? I'm not so sure he can. But the Dallas Cowboys, they are just awful. And it's very depressing in Dallas right now.
Oh yeah, it is. It's very depressing in Dallas indeed. Ben, before I go to you on this, 2 things. Mike McCarthy should have been fired. He should have been fired after Sunday's game. I mean, he should have been fired last year. Like Jonathan, you mentioned, the Cowboys are undisciplined. They're very, very sloppy. Who can fix that? What's the remedy for that? One man only. Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick should have been roaming the sidelines for the Dallas Cowboys this year. He should have taken over for Mike McCarthy after the Dallas Cowboys lost and got whooped by the Green Bay Packers in that playoff game. And that's what should have been done. But instead, Jerry Jones decided, no, we're going to run it back for another year. This is why I don't understand these owners. Like, you see what happens on the field. Like, you see the disgrace that happened on the field, and you decide not to change anything. We all know Mike McCarthy. That's what Mike McCarthy is. Mike McCarthy is an overrated coach who, at the end of his tenure, like, the team just sucks. And that's what the Cowboys are right now. They just suck. Like, they're not good on any side of the ball offensively. Like, they've had their moments. Defense, I mean, that defense is such a huge mess. I know they're missing Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, but did you guys watch that Oregon-Ohio State game on Saturday night? Like, I swear Oregon and Ohio State probably could have put up double digits against the Dallas Cowboys. Like, that Dallas Cowboys defense was just so lost. Their secondary, like, I mean, these guys were like, I'm surprised they didn't run into each other. They were just running. It's like, where are you going? Where are you going? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
The pass rush was so awful in this game. I was thinking to myself, is that Jared Goff playing or is that Joe Montana out there? That's how bad they were. And then the run game. I mean, listen, David Montgomery is a solid back. Okay, he's a solid back. But you look at the run game. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs combined for 160 yards rushing. Like, how is that? Like, they're good backs, but come on. Like, you made these two look like Barry Sanders out there. Like, the Dallas Cowboys, that was just a joke of a performance. As far as I'm concerned, Mike McCarthy, he should be gone. He should have been gone last year. I don't understand why Jerry decided to not make the move. It's like you're just basically tanking the season. Like, I'm not surprised the Cowboys are in this predicament because Jonathan and Ben, what did Jerry Jones do this offseason to upgrade the roster? They didn't do anything. They didn't make a move. The only thing they did was extend Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and basically run it all back. Like, they didn't do anything.
They drove the Cowboy fans crazy, if anything.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they didn't do anything. And now, like, Jerry wants to say, like, I thought we were going to be a playoff team. Like, dude, like, anybody knows. Like, you took a major step backward, and, that's what your team is right now. And, the whole thing with Jerry, that is a joke. Like, come on, man. Like, you can't even take. Yeah.
Jerry is going to run it back with Mike McCarthy. Let me tell you why. Because Mike McCarthy is a puppet on strings. He does whatever Jerry Jones tells him. And again, this goes back to what I said earlier. Jerry Jones does not want to give up power. He wants to be in full control of his franchise. And the only way he's going to be in full control of his franchise if he has a coach like Mike McCarthy, who is a yes man.
And that's why Jerry wonders why, the Cowboys have not been in the NFC Championship since the 1990s. It's because of you, plain and simple. There's one factor in the 30 years since you've been to the NFC Championship, and that's you. And, you're not giving up power. You're not firing the head coach. You're not making major changes. Like any competent owner would have made major changes by now, especially after what happened against Green Bay. But you didn't, and now you're looking at the results. But Ben, I want to go to you on this. What was your thoughts on the Cowboys' massive loss to the Lions? Do you think Mike McCarthy should be fired? And what did you think about the whole Jerry Jones circus in which he threatens a radio host to be fired because the guy was criticizing him?
Yeah, I think Jerry Jones has pretty much explained everything about the team pretty much by himself, and that's the circus. That's what their whole entire team is. He's essentially calling it that way, and they're literally and figuratively that way. Their run defense is awful. They're last specifically in the NFL. If you have a good running game against that Dallas team, you're going to explode. I mean, fantasy owners, if you look at Dallas, I mean, even if you don't have a good running game, you probably go crazy, regardless of the team that you have. Dak Prescott, the Cowboys paid buttloads of money for. I was never a believer in Dak was going to be that paid type of quarterback. I think he's a solid quarterback, but I don't think he's a top elite per se. And really outside of CeeDee Lamb, they don't really have a ton there. They have like a washed up Ezekiel Elliott. They have a couple pieces. I mean, losing Tony Pollard was a massive part to their offense. I thought he was like their second kind of receiver for Dak Prescott. And, they have some other guys kind of, stepping up here and there, but it's not just consistent. So between that and, relying heavily on CeeDee Lamb, a lot of really good quarters out there that are pretty much going to, double team him, bracket him. I mean, or they're pretty much saying like, listen, we'll get you, you'll get yours, and pretty much everybody else will just make sure that we're not going to dictate the rest of the game. So, yeah, their passing defense is a mess. I know that, like you mentioned, they're without Parsons, they're without DeMarcus Lawrence, they were without guys. But even when they were out there playing, they didn't even look that good either. So, yeah, just something's going really, really wrong with that team. I'm not complaining. I love the Cowboys' downfall. I'll always pray for it. And just to see Jerry Jones just completely make a fool of himself, especially after the team completely embarrassed on your birthday, and now you essentially want to go out there and go out in public. I mean, nobody feels sorry for you, man. Nobody.
Yeah, indeed. Let's go into the Sunday night game. I mean, this game, I don't think we have really a lot to say about it. Like this game, I mean, thank goodness there was Thank goodness there was baseball and basketball preseason, because those games were.
It's not because of I want to go to sleep. It's because of that game. Well,
yeah,
I guess both, but.
Oh my gosh, this game was. I mean, it was so boring. The Giants kept shooting themselves in the foot with missed field goals. The Bengals did not look impressive as well. And Jonathan and Ben, I'm gonna say this right now: can the Giants give Drew Lock a chance to start? Because with the way Daniel Jones is playing, I mean, Drew Lock cannot do much worse. At least with Drew Lock, he can throw the football down the field. With Daniel Jones, it's intermediate passes, it's short passes. Like, there's no threat with him. And I just think the New Yorkers, their baseball teams are playing well. No wonder why nobody was at the Meadowlands for that game. But, give Drew Lock a shot. Like, I think it's time, because I think if you're Brian Daboll, you look at this offense, you don't have a guy that can consistently throw the football down the field. Daniel Jones is not that guy. Might as well give Drew Lock a chance to see what he's got. And you know what? If he plays great. If he plays terrible, well, then you have two bad quarterbacks. But I don't think he could do much worse than Daniel Jones. And I think the biggest story coming out of this game was, did any of you guys impressed by the Bengals? I don't think they like really cleared any of the questions that was laid at their feet. You know, the Bengals offense looked sloppy for a little bit. Their defense played great, but their offense was very like inconsistent and very sloppy. But Ben, I'll go to you first on this. What's your thoughts on this Bengals 17-7 win over the New York Giants? I know you probably didn't watch most of it. Don't worry, I didn't, because it was just it was bad. But what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think this comes to basically tell me that if you take away a number one option for Daniel Jones, he's still pretty much the same guy. Yes, obviously Wan'Dale Robinson has had some flashes here and there, but the Giants, the quarterback situation, Daniel Jones is going to be their long-term guy. Yes, he's been better this year, but it's the matter of how good can he physically be. I still remember that interception that I threw on Sunday night where theoretically he should have just taken the sack, done it down, and there's sometimes, or just throw it out of bounds. But instead, specifically, he got absolutely croaked and he decided to throw it up to mid part of the field. And the ball specifically was, I mean, I still think that ball is saying about the time that the whole entire thing was floating up there. And of course, they got picked off. So that was obviously a massive turning point because it was right in the red zone, too. Every single time that Daniel Jones throws interceptions, it feels like it's always at like the worst time too. So that pretty much tells me kind of what he is as a quarterback. He's very, very up and down. He's really just in kind of not. He's not on that. Obviously, definitely not on that elite. He's not on the very good. He's just kind of in that like below the very good. He's solid. He's average, kind of right in that tier. But you take away Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors obviously was a security blanket for the first several weeks. And completely the guy has lost a lot of it. Now, Andrew Thomas is probably going to be out for the majority of the season now. He's one of their top offensive linemen. They pretty much were already shot with their offensive linemen as is. So, I mean, Neighbors really has to come back for Daniel Jones to kind of get his confidence back. Obviously, no Saquon Barkley for them this year, too. So, you know, it's just a lot of moving pieces for the Giants. And I just think that you know, maybe they go out if they're kind of still in the mix at the trade deadline. Maybe they go out and get a receiver that could be out there. There's a ton of receivers that I've been listening to in terms that could be available. Maybe DeAndre Hopkins, maybe Christian Kirk if the Jaguars keep on falling. Deontay Johnson is another one that I was reading as well as too. So if the Giants want to still kind of be in that contention mode with the NFC East that is very up and down this year, they got to get somebody else for Daniel Jones to match with Malik Neighbors, kind of like with the Giants right now, where they got Devontae Adams to match Garrett Wilson. So the Giants really have a ton of work to do if they want to get into a playoff position. The Bengals, actually, yes, it was ugly for them on the offensive side, but the defense has been more of their problem, the reason why they've been losing on the games. And they put on a really good show on Sunday. I know the Giants' offense isn't great, but they did put up a ton of points the week before in Seattle, a really tough place to play, and they won that game. So the Bengals on prime time, they were able to find a way to kind of get a late touchdown and kind of put the game away. Yes, it wasn't pretty from the offensive side, but the offense for the majority of this overall season so far for them has not been their issue. It's been their defense that's been a massive issue, and they were able to come up big in this game on Sunday night. So hopefully they can kind of find that balance between the two when they have to play their next game coming up, which I'm not sure who that's going to be. But the Bengals needed that win badly. The Giants just laid a massive egg. Simple as that.
All right, Jonathan, what's your thoughts on this Sunday night football game?
Ben, I mean, hey, you know what? That was a boring game, man. It was really hard to sit through that and watch that game. It was unbearable, okay? But let me tell you something. Ben, you're being too nice when you say Daniel Jones is an average quarterback. He's a below average quarterback. He should not be anywhere near a football field because this guy is simply not a great quarterback. And I think the Giants realize that by now, or they're just in denial after they paid this man so much money. Look, he had one great playoff game where he looked like Joe Montana, and after that, you wanted to pay this man a boatload of money, and he has not lived up to the contract. You know, I was watching him on Sunday, and I had seen enough. I just had to turn the game off because, I mean, the dude was just worse than a JV quarterback. I mean, he couldn't hit his spots. You know, he was inaccurate with his throws. You know, he had some inaccurate passes. And this guy doesn't know when to take a sack or just throw the ball away. He always has to make a dangerous throw where it results in an interception. And I know Brian Daboll has gotten on him a number of times on the sideline for doing stupid stuff like that, and he continues to do it. It's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. They got to be done with this guy by now. I know New York is done with this guy. It's the most heavily debated topic among New York Giants fans. You know, he has been at the center of attention for all the wrong reasons, and he has been heavily criticized. It's a daily discourse for many who have grown tired of the quarterback position's lack of production, and it hasn't gotten any better. It seems like it's gotten worse, you know.
Yeah.
And 2 seasons ago, Jones was seemingly on his way out, you know, until he got paid all this money. I mean, it's crazy. And now that you don't have Saquon Barkley, you're really in a world of trouble. I think, honestly, though, I will say this about the New York Giants. I don't think they really are that bad of a team. I think they're actually a quarterback away from being a legit contender. They got everything else they need. The only thing they might still need is a solid running back after they lost Saquon Barkley in free agency. But I think they got everything else in place.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they. I'm sorry to cut you off. Then they're Johnson.
No, you're good. You're good.
I wouldn't be surprised if they drafted Shedeur Sanders. I feel like the Giants kind of need somebody that is very dynamic to their offense, something that kind of jumps. And I think that Shedeur Sanders would be awesome for them. I know that obviously the offensive line isn't great per se, but they can be able to build around that. The Giants, I just think, need some buzz, kind of like with the Jets got Aaron Rodgers, they got a bunch of some buzz coming around.
Yeah,
Shedeur Sanders, I think, would be awesome with the Giants.
Yeah. And they already got the stud wide receiver with Malik Neighbors. So there you go.
That'd be awesome. That'd be an awesome duo.
Dude, imagine Shedeur throwing the ball downfield to Malik Neighbors. I mean, that would be electrifying in New York. But
that would be so boring if you put them on Sunday Night Football. Then maybe people might want to tune in and watch.
That is true. That is true. But going into our last game before we get into our Week 7 picks, Monday Night Football, Jets-Bills lived up to the hype. It was a good back-and-forth game. Bills, Josh Allen had a great game. The Jets, Aaron Rodgers with a Hail Mary, an unbelievable Hail Mary to Alan Lazard. I mean, appreciate you, Aaron Rodgers, for that. I gained a lot of fantasy points for that. But the Jets end up falling short. They end up losing that game on an interception by Aaron Rodgers in which he had Mike Williams. Mike Williams had him, but Mike Williams slips on the turf, falls flat on his face, and ends up becoming a meme around New York City. And now the Jets fall to 2-4, but they did acquire Devontae Adams couple days after that, or a day after that game ended. Jonathan, I'll go to you first on this. What was your thoughts on this Bills-Jets game? What's your thoughts on both teams? And what's your thoughts on the Bills' 23-20 victory over the Jets?
Well, the Bills are a great regular season team. The playoffs, not so much, because you got a quarterback who wants to do it all. You got a quarterback who likes to play hero ball. And it comes a time in the game, particularly in the fourth quarter or overtime, where Josh Allen gets a little bit too reckless, and that's when bad things usually happen. And then the defense never shows up in the playoffs for whatever reason. But I thought that was a great win for the Bills. They get a stranglehold on the AFC East. They are in first place currently now. The Jets would have been in first place had they won that game on Sunday. But like I told you earlier, I didn't see the Jets winning that game because now you have an interim coach you have a new playbook that you have to adjust to, and having a new playbook handed to you 8 days or 5 days after the coach being fired. I mean, you're not going to expect the players to know much. That's a lot of information to retain and everything. I mean, it's just it's too much for it's too much for players. After a head coach loses his job, and so I kind of figured that they would lose the game. Now that you have Devontae Adams, that might be a bit different. I don't know. We'll see what happened, but I don't know. I just felt like the Jets would lose that game. I felt like the Bills were going to come out and take care of business, and they did just that. And they knew what was at stake. They knew that if they win the game, they'll, be the team that would go on top in the AFC East, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, like I told you earlier, like the thing with the Jets is I think you could start counting them now because of them getting Devontae Adams. I thought their offense was clogged before getting Devontae Adams. Now that just with Adams, it just opens up everything now. But in terms of this game, Jonathan, I thought the Jets, they were fired up to start the game. Like you could tell there was a different buzz in the atmosphere, but I felt like the Jets just shot themselves in the foot. I mean, those missed field goals by Zerline really hurt. The pass where Aaron Rodgers had Mike Williams. If Mike Williams doesn't slip, like that they get the ball at the Bills, I think like 15-yard line or something with about a minute something left. And I think they are able to punch it in for the touchdown. Like the Jets had a lot of chances. It's just that they didn't capitalize. And Jonathan, I don't think you're familiar with this, but on some of our shows in the past, I've hyped up this guy because I thought he was so underrated. And I got to say this. How about Taylor Rapp? How about my guy Taylor Rapp against the New York Jets? I mean, he was all over the place, breaking up that long pass to Breece Hall, making clutch tackles after clutch tackles after clutch tackles. I mean, he played, I think, the best game of his career. And Jonathan, you know him from his days with the Los Angeles Rams. The thing with this dude is he would always go for the big plays. And that would always hurt him because when he misses, he would get burned. But in this game, I thought he played one of the best games of his career. He was outstanding in coverage. He was outstanding against the run. I mean, just got to give him a shout out. I think he single-handedly really saved Buffalo in this game because if they get that long pass to Breece Hall, who knows what happens after that? And if he doesn't, cover good against Mike Williams, you don't know what happens after that. So Taylor Rapp, what a great game for him. Congratulations on that big game. And he single-handedly, in my opinion, saved the Buffalo Bills in this game. But Jonathan, do you have anything you wanted to add before we go to Ben on this?
I mean, hey, that's another thing about Buffalo. That's what they're known for. Great safety play, right? They've been known for that for a long time now. And Taylor Rapp fits right in with that team. And I think he's grown since he left the Rams. I think he's really grown as a player. And you've seen that since his time in Buffalo. So I'm happy for him.
All right, Ben, we'll go to you on this. I know earlier you didn't have your chance to give your take on the Devontae Adams trade, so you can, add that in. But what was your thoughts on the Bills 23-20 win over the Jets? And what's your reaction to Devontae Adams being traded to the Jets and reuniting with his buddy Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, it was a good game back and forth. The only thing was it was completely a ref show. I mean, there was 22 penalties. I felt like the second half, like every single play, a flag. I mean, it was just absolutely insanity. And it kind of took away partly of just the back and forth game that it was, because it's just like, all right, yes, obviously there's going to be calls there and there, but like it got to a point where it's just like every call, like every single play that was called, it was a flag. So that was kind of annoying. But I thought that the Bills, they had a really impressive win, and this was without James Cook. one of their biggest threats that they have offensively.
Oh yeah,
You know,
that's true. Yeah.
Josh Allen had 2 touchdowns, and none of them were without James Cook. You know, I do think that Josh getting Amari Cooper for the Bills was a massive move for them. I know he's kind of struggled this year, but you know, with the Browns, with the way their offensive line is, and with everything else, I mean, he wasn't going to be getting the ball a lot, and it just wasn't going to be the case. I think that he goes now with a new change of scenery, and he breaks out again. So I think that's good for Buffalo. But defensively, they had some big overall plays. I mean, the offensive line for the Jets for the last several weeks has not been great. I will say that. I think that, especially on the outside, Tyron Smith feels like he's getting older. He got beat quite a bit in this game on Monday, and yeah, I mean, Rodgers has been getting some timely sacks as well. I mean, obviously he threw for 2 touchdowns, but the pick that he had, I mean, I won't fully give it on him, but you know, he had the guy and he just underthrew it too. So even if the guy slipped, you know, he underthrew it enough where the guy on Buffalo was able to make a play on it, and that's what happened. So, you know, it was a back and forth game. It was a rough show, but Buffalo and New York, I think that both teams will split. I wouldn't be shocked if, you know, the Jets go into Buffalo and win. Wouldn't shock me at all. You know, Buffalo's a good team at home. So that was a good game overall. And then Davante Adams to the Jets does not surprise me at all. I mean, Davante, I think it was kind of – I remember even when we had our watch party with the Raiders and the Lions. I still remember that to this day. And Jonathan, if you want to hear this, if you want to hear this, follow me. So me and Isaiah were having a watch party last year at the Raiders and Lions game. I don't know if you remember this game. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, overthrew Davante Adams by like 20 yards. I mean, it was this was complete overthrow. He was wide open. I mean, you could park a car in between in terms of where the ball was 20 yards and where he was, and still nobody else is in sight. I mean, it was just completely crazy.
I remember.
And he just goes to the sideline. Davante Adams is just standing there by himself, like thinking to himself, "You got to be effing kidding me." So I think, and I asked Davante Adams today, I think today or yesterday, about Garrett Wilson and just giving him a chance to play with them. And apparently last year there was already talks about how he would love to play with Garrett Wilson. And I pretty much knew that when Aaron Rodgers was going to go to the Jets, I think that Davante Adams was pretty much on butt dial in terms of when it was going to be starting to come, in terms of those rumors are going to happen, whether it was going to be with the Jets, whether it was going to be back with Derek Carr, because the biggest reason why he went to the Raiders was because not to go play with the Raiders, because to go play with his old buddy Derek Carr. So he's essentially kind of going where familiarity is at this point in time. He's not going specifically to get a contract. It's all about familiarity with them right now. So, yeah, this doesn't surprise me. In terms of how the Jets use him, I think that they definitely need a little bit of boost on the outside. I do just think, though, their running game's been their issue. Their offensive line, their running game has not been consistent. So, I mean, I do think that it helps Garrett Wilson a lot. You can kind of take the double team to Garrett Wilson. Now you have to play single high on him, you know, different coverages. So it could be big for Garrett Wilson. For Adams, I think that another thing too is like he's battled with the hamstring, I guess, because apparently I guess a hamstring pretty much automatically feels fine after 2 straight weeks of not having it. I think it was more of, I want to be out of here than anything. But, you know, I'm not a doctor per se. Maybe he was actually hurt. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I can give you guys for right now.
All right, fellas, let's go into our week 7 picks. We've got a tremendous slate of week 7 games, college football, and now NFL with all the great games that we have this week. So this is our week 7 slate, starting with Thursday Night Football. It's going to be an epic slate, a lot of great matchups on tap for y'all. Let's start on Thursday Night Football. We got Sean Payton, the longtime head coach of the New Orleans Saints, now the head coach of the Broncos, going back to New Orleans to face his former team. Ben and John, before I give it to you guys, I'm going to go with the upset. I don't think it's really an upset, but give me the Denver Broncos. I think Sean Payton, he knows Dennis Allen's defense very, very well. He will be able to game plan against it very well. I think Bo Nix has a great day. They're able to run the football against the Saints. Remember, that Saints defense, fellas, gave up 549 yards of offense to Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. Like, they made Baker Mayfield look like Tom Brady out there on Sunday afternoon, and that offense looked like the greatest show on turf. Like, that defense is missing a lot. Derek Carr's not going to play. I think I heard today that Shaheed, one of their best wide receivers, he's out. Taysom Hill is out. They've got a lot of injuries on the offensive side. I don't think the Broncos have a great defense. I think the Broncos are able to shut down Spencer Rattler and shut down that offense. And I think the Broncos, in Sean Payton's return on Thursday Night Football tomorrow, breeze to a win over the Saints. So give me Denver to win this game. Ben, I'll go to you next. Are you going with Sean Payton and the Broncos, or do you think Dennis Allen and the Saints spoil Sean Payton's return to New Orleans?
I'm gonna go with the Saints. I think I picked the Broncos to win last week. They really let me down. It's just the Bo Nix factor to me, as in I know that obviously you were talking highly about him, and I know that there's obviously been some flashes of him kind of showing it, but the comparisons that you made before the season to what he's been,
God,
and listen, everybody has bad takes. It's gonna happen. I've had countless bad ones. But yeah, it hasn't been great for Bo Nix as a whole. I mean, yes, I feel like for him he's a better runner than he is as a passer.
Yeah.
The thing about the Saints is they just got absolutely demolished last week against Tampa at their building. I don't see the Saints losing back-to-back at their building. And the Saints really last week, and me and Nate were talking about on my show, Kicking with Cruz. Nate's a Broncos fan. And I told him, I said, I think that the Broncos could give the Saints a really, close game, but I'm going to go with the Saints in this one. I think it'll be close.
All right, we got 2 for the Saints. Jonathan, are you going with Sean Payton and the Broncos, or do you think the Saints spoil Payton's return to New Orleans?
I do not think the Saints will spoil Sean Payton's return to New Orleans. I'm going to go with the Broncos. I think the Broncos win this game 23-17 on the road. I just don't believe in the Saints like I did in weeks 1 and week 2. They're without their quarterback. They don't have Derek Carr. They blew a huge lead, and that can be very deflating for any team to kind of bounce back from. And as bad as the Broncos offense can be, they are facing, again, a Saints defense that is an absolute dumpster fire and a quarterback getting his second career start. So why wouldn't I go with the Broncos? I just don't see the Saints having much of a chance. I really believe the Broncos will pull it off. The Broncos should beat a Saints team led by a rookie quarterback in his first start. Yes, they will be missing Pat Surtain, but the Saints are also banged up, which should even things out there. And then Sean Payton, I think, will get it done against his old team, and Bo Nix, as resilient and as exuberant as he is, I think he will bounce back in this game. And I think the offense has played better as well. So, give me the Broncos over the Saints. And I think also, more than anything, too, this is a make or break game for the Broncos if they want to keep their postseason hopes alive. So they know what's at stake here, and they know how big of a win this is. So I think they'll get it done. And in order to come away with a win on the road against the Saints, Denver has to perform much better on offense. And I think they are capable of doing that.
All right, so we got 2 for the Broncos. Ben is going with the Saints. Let's go to the London game now for Sunday. Patriots, Jaguars. Ben, your Patriots play the Jaguars, who I think if Doug Peterson and the Jags lose this, I think he's out in Jacksonville. You know what? I'm going with the upset. Give me New England New England's got a stout defense. Trevor Lawrence against stout defenses have struggled recently. Jacksonville is just a mess right now. There's so much chaos. Like me and Jonathan were talking about earlier before you came on, Ben, I just don't think Doug Peterson's heart is into coaching the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that, with his quote about, we need a culture change, he's basically begging to be fired. I think he's going to get let go. I think the Patriots with Drake May looked really good on Sunday against the Houston Texans. Like, he threw 3 touchdowns in that game. That is more than, they've produced passing wise. I think I saw something like in the last year that they've produced. So I think Drake May against that Jaguars defense, I think that, he'll have an easier task ahead of him. I think he'll have a good day because that Jaguars defense is not really that good. I think the Patriots pick off Trevor Lawrence a couple of times. Give me New England to send Doug Peterson and the Jaguars packing and Doug Peterson out in Jacksonville after the game is over. But Ben, you're the Patriots fan on this panel. Are you going with your Patriots, or you think the Jaguars in London save their season with a win?
I on my other network, we have picks as well for every week. And I've been picking against my team the last several weeks just because, one, they've been facing just teams better than them, and 2, just my overall belief of them. But after the way that Drake played last week and the way that the Jacksonville Jaguars team has been, and yes, the Patriots obviously have had a rough year too, but I'm going with the Pats here. I think that this is a game that feels like a win here in this schedule. Defensively, I think they'll do enough to beat Trevor Lawrence. Travis Etienne is on the injury report right now, so I don't know if he's 100%. And they have receivers, Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas Jr., but it's not like it's like a complete, there's obviously Stephon Diggs they've been going against so far, Tyreek Hill. Like, they've been facing a ton of really good offenses so far in the beginning of the season. Seattle as well with DK and Tyler Lockett. So, this obviously you can't overlook any type of opponent per se. Don't get me wrong, but I think this is a Patriots type of matchup where I think that they can run the ball, play complementary ball, and I think that Drake plays good enough. I don't know if he's going to be as good as his debut, but I think he'll do good enough to pull us. I'm going to say 2017 Patriots.
All right, we got 2 for the Patriots. Jonathan, are you going with New England, or are you going with the Jaguars to save their season and perhaps Doug Peterson's tenure as the coach of the Jaguars?
This is the toilet bowl. So this features 2 of the worst teams in the NFL. And if I have to pick one team that's worse than the other that I feel is going to win, it's going to be the New England Patriots. The Patriots are in a rebuild right now and are in evaluation mode right now, and a positive takeaway is that the offense did show some signs of life with May under center, but again, these are 2 of the worst teams in the league. And, you had the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars saying after his team's loss on Sunday that we talked about this earlier too, Isaiah, that a culture change is needed in Jacksonville.
Who in the right mind says that?
Yeah, right. I just think Jacksonville is in an utter mess right now that winning football games, it's not, in their
priority
right now. It's not like their mindset right now. Like, it's not a priority for them at all. And I mean, they just look like they are, one of the worst teams in the league, clearly. And we were just talking about them not so long ago being one of the best up and coming teams in the league. And then you regress and take 3 or 5 steps back, which is incredible to me. So, I mean, yeah, give me the Patriots to win this game.
All right, we all got the Patriots to win this game. The next game on the schedule, very, very interesting game. We've got the Seahawks at the Atlanta Falcons at 1 p.m. Eastern time. This is going to be an amazing game. I feel like, Seahawks have lost 3 in a row. Falcons have won a couple of straight games. Their offense is looking very good. Both of these 2 teams don't play any defense. For me, I'm gonna go with the Falcons in a shootout. I think you see both offenses light up the scoreboard, but I think it comes down to one last stop, and I trust the Falcons defense over the Seahawks and Mike McDonald. Jonathan, I'll go to you first on this. Are you going with Seattle or Atlanta to keep their season on par?
I don't know. When I look at the Seattle Seahawks, there's a lot of problems with that team right now. There are a lot of issues with the Seattle Seahawks, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. Even their coach, help me with his name again.
Mike McDonald.
Mike McDonald, thank you. I was about to say McDaniel for whatever reason, but Mike McDonald, he said that the problem with the defense is the second level of their defense, which means the linebackers. And I feel that the Falcons are going to have a field day with that because you got a quarterback that can get his tight end involved, and that is Kyle Pitts, and they can really do some damage in the middle of the field if their second level of their defense is not up to par. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. And I just think that the Falcons are the overall better team in this game. I think they'll come out strong and they will take care of the Seattle Seahawks, who I had as a surprise team coming into this year.
All right, so we both go with the Falcons. Ben, are you going with the Falcons and we go with the sweep, or is it going to be Seattle for you?
Yeah, I had to think about it like 5 minutes ago. Now I know my answer. I'm going Atlanta. Yeah, Seattle definitely. I know obviously early on, kind of the first couple of weeks, they looked like a juggernaut. And I still think they're a solid team, but I think that kind of the water kind of leveled up a little bit the last couple weeks for them. Their defense is giving a ton of points to really, really good teams, especially really good offenses. Atlanta has a pretty solid offense. And like you mentioned, Jonathan, the secondary and their linebackers. They're getting a ton of big plays recently. I mean, heck, Daniel Jones went into their building a couple weeks ago and absolutely torched them. So that pretty much says it all. Kirk Cousins, especially during this is not a primetime game. Kirk Cousins during 1 o'clock slates, pretty solid as well. And he's had a pretty good year this year, given kind of everything. So I trust the Falcons more than the Seattle Seahawks right now. I think the Falcons have a better defense. So yeah, give me Atlanta.
All right, so we got a sweep there. The next one, Titans at Bills. Sadly, I think this might be a blowout. Will Levis versus Josh Allen. I don't even think I need to give an explanation. I'm going to go with Josh Allen and the Bills. I think Will Levis turns it over a couple of times and just makes some silly mistakes, especially against that Bills ball hawking defense. Giving extra possessions to the Bills is absolutely the worst mistake you could make, and it's in Buffalo. If it was Tennessee, maybe I'd give the Titans a shot, but it's in Buffalo, no chance. Give me the Bills to win this, and they're gonna rout the Tennessee Titans. Ben, how about you? Are you going with the Titans or the Bills?
Oh, Buffalo easily. You have one team that is AFC contender, and you have one team that is in the basement. They beat what was it, Tyler Huntley. All right, congrats, man. They have a quarterback specifically that still has a deer on the headlines, turns the ball over a lot. Calvin Ridley had no catches last week, no reception yards. They're just complete, right now as well. So, yeah, give me Buffalo.
All right, Jonathan. I don't know if you even need to explain this, but are you going with the Titans? Or are you going with the Bills?
I'm going with the Buffalo Bills. A couple of pick sixes from Will Levis, and I think that's a huge mistake playing against the Buffalo Bills because they will capitalize every single time on those turnovers. And I think Josh Allen will have a productive day. Give me the Buffalo Bills.
All right, the next game we'll go to is Bengals at Browns. This game might be interesting because it's in Cleveland. Cleveland's got a really good defense. Joe Burrow always struggles against the Browns. Ben and John, I'm going to go with the upset. Give me the Browns. I know the Browns have looked really bad this year, but Joe Burrow always struggles against the Cleveland Browns defense for whatever reason. I think he throws a couple of picks in this game. I think the Browns just do enough offensively to win this game. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I don't trust the Bengals defense. Give me the Browns in an upset. How about you, Jonathan? Are you going with the Browns or are you going with Cincy?
Look, I don't trust Joe Burrow or the Bengals either, but I surely don't trust the Cleveland Browns. I would bet against them any day of the week. And I'm not going with the Browns because they are a mess on offense. That might be the worst offense in the NFL. Deshaun Watson is your quarterback. I'm sorry. They just don't call plays effectively. They don't move the ball. Hell, half of the time they can't even pick up a first down. So no, give me the Cincinnati Bengals.
All right, so we got a split Bengals and Browns. Ben, break the tie. Are you going with the Bengals or are you going with the Browns?
I'm going Cincy. I think that yes, they're going to Nick Chubb, I think, back coming up this weekend, but you also lose Amari Cooper. The Browns, I mean, they're probably going to rely a lot on Judy and some other guys, maybe Njoku, but their line is a mess. And Cincy has a pretty good front, and overall, Sam Hubbard and a couple other guys, so I think they definitely could wreak havoc for Deshaun Watson. I mean, listen, I think this is more of a coin flip than anything, but I think it'll come right down to the end, and the Bengals will find a way to pull it. I think that now is the time for them to start kind of getting a streak going as well, too. They kind of know that, a lot of people have jobs in the line, Zach Taylor, and I just think that Joe Burrow kind of needs a stretch going here. So, yeah, give me Cincy.
All right, now we go into one of our marquee matchups for the day. We've got the Texans at the Green Bay Packers, CJ Stroud versus Jordan Love and that Packers offense. It's going to be a great matchup. Jonathan, I'll start with you first on this. Who are you taking, CJ Stroud and the Texans, or do you think the Cheeseheads will win this game?
Oh, you know what? This is a tough call right here. Give me the Jordan Love Green Bay Packers. Show me a little love. I'll go with Green Bay here. I like Green Bay in this game over the Texans. The Texans haven't played like the Texans that we've seen last season. So I'm going to have to go with Green Bay in this win, but I think this is the game that is actually the coin toss, but give me the Green Bay Packers.
I love the pick, no pun intended. But Ben, I'll go to you next on this. Are you going with, this is a tough one, like Jonathan mentioned. I'm still trying to think about who I'm gonna pick, but are you going with CJ Stroud and the Texans, or do you think Jordan Love and the Cheeseheads get the victory?
Yeah. I really want to lean to the Texans, but something tells me to never doubt the Packers at Lambeau. There's just some teams you just never doubt, specifically with really good home field advantage. And this is one specifically that came down to, if it was the other way around, I would go with Houston for sure. But since it's at Green Bay where they play really, really good football, I'm going to go with them. And Jordan Love obviously is back. He's played fairly well overall. They got a really good running game. Nico Collins is still out for Houston. So I know that obviously Joe Mixon came back against the Patriots. I mean, they kept the Patriots kept reach with the Texans. I mean, it was only 14-7 in the first half. And if it wasn't for the 4 turnovers the Patriots had, I mean, heck, this game could have been right down to the wire. So I think that, Houston, they're a good team. I feel like they're a little overhyped. I'm not saying they're a bad team. But, I do think that they're a solid team, but they definitely are very beatable as well, too. So I think that, the Packers get to Houston in this one, but I think it's going to be a really, really good game.
For me, like Jonathan mentioned, the love will be in the air for this game. This is a very tough pick, but I got to go with Jordan Love and the Cheeseheads. I think that this is going to come down to the wire. I think it comes down to the final possession. I think both quarterbacks put on a show, but I just think like with the Packers, it's in Lambeau Field. CJ Stroud, he's missing Nico Collins. That defense has not been that good this year. I think both quarterbacks put on a show, but I think the Packers come out with a win, with a late drive and a game-winning field goal by their kicker. We move to the Dolphins and the Colts. If this was Tua versus Anthony Richardson, now we would be talking. But this is Tyler Huntley versus Joe Flacco, most likely in this game. Jonathan, I'll go to you first on this. Are you going with the Dolphins or are you going with the Colts?
Oh, give me the veteran here, the veteran Joe Flacco, if he starts. I got the
All right,
Colts.
so Jonathan's got the Colts.
I got the Colts. I don't like what I've seen from the Dolphins all season. It seems it just looked like a different team, especially without Tua.
Yeah, definitely. Like Tyler Huntley has proven, sadly, he's not a major threat to throw the football down the field. So for me, yeah, I'm gonna go with the Colts. The Colts have a really good run defense. I think they shut down the run game, force the Dolphins to throw the football down the field, and then Tyler Huntley sadly won't be able to get it done. So I'm gonna go with the Colts by 2 scores. Ben, are you going with the Dolphins or you got the Colts?
Yeah, I'm going to go in with the Colts. Like Jonathan said, I have not really liked what the Dolphins have been ever since Tua went down. Tua's gone down, unfortunately, several times in his career, and pretty much ever since when he goes down, their offense is just completely inept. Yeah, they obviously have guys around him, but it doesn't really matter if you don't have a quarterback that can push the ball downfield and just presents that overall challenge. And Huntley, no credit to him. No, obviously he's a better quarterback than I think a lot of people, but he's a third stringer for a reason. So I'm picking the Colts here. Joe Flacco, I think, has been a much better quarterback than Anthony Richardson, I think, so far. Richardson is obviously very raw. He has a lot of great talent, but he's had 6 interceptions so far this season. And Joe Flacco, in his overall short time with Indy right now, has been doing really well with keeping the ball away from defenders. He's still being veteran Joe, and I'm going with him. I'm riding with the veteran here.
All right, guys, let's go to the second half of our Week 7 slate. We've got another 1 p.m. game. I think it's going to be a coin flip. Lions versus the Vikings in Minnesota. Lions coming off that massive blowout win over the Cowboys. The Vikings are 5-0. Jonathan and Ben, I think the Vikings' success stops here. I think Detroit goes into Minnesota and beats the Vikings. I know they don't have Aiden Hutchinson, but still, they've got a really good football team, both offensively and defensively. Minnesota with Sam Darnold, they haven't faced adversity yet. That's the thing. And I think that's going to come here. I think it's going to be a close game. Detroit always plays Minnesota tough, whether it's in Minnesota or it's in Detroit. They always play each other tough. This is going to be a close game, but give me the Lions to win on a game-winning field goal. So, Ben, I'll go to you next on this. Are you going Lions or Vikings?
Yeah, the Vikings obviously have had a really, really good stretch so far. I still think they're a really good team, headlined by Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores. But I think that the Lions are just an absolute wagon right now. They're really kind of clicking. Jared Goff's been playing really well. They have a really good running game. They got Monroe St. Brown starting to cook. Tim Patrick's been really surprised for them as well, too. So everyone's really kind of contributing. You kind of can see that in that primetime game last week against Dallas and a bunch of their big-time games. So I know that obviously Brian Flores so far this season has done really well so far against pretty good offenses, including your Niners, Isaiah, and Houston. So he has really kind of cracked the code on a lot of these type of quarterbacks so far. And maybe he does that against Detroit. But I think that Minnesota, they're just bound for a loss. And it's an in-division type of game. It's going to happen. It's not saying that Minnesota's a bad team, because they're not. But I think that it's bound to happen at some point. And I think this is the week that it gets done.
All right, Jonathan, how about you? Both me and Ben are picking the Lions. Are you going with the Lions or Vikings here in this coin flip type of a game?
Yeah, the Lions is a juggernaut of a football team. I think they showed that against the Dallas Cowboys. They're riding with a lot of momentum now. That game was something to build on. And I think coming into this division game, I think they will beat the Vikings. I think they will hand the Vikings their first loss of the season. This is a real test for the Vikings. and they haven't really faced a team as good as the Lions this season. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Lions to beat the Vikings. And I really like the Vikings. Like I like what I'm seeing from Sam Darnold. It's been a resurgent year for him. And like Ben said, you have a coach that knows how to crack the code with these quarterbacks and has set them up to be very successful in the league. So I like the Vikings a lot, but I do like the way the Lions run the football. I like the way Jared Goff, looks very efficient at the quarterback position and what he's done. And I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at my man, St. Brown, what he's done as well. So yeah, give me the Lions in this game. I think it's going to be close though. I don't think it's going to be a blowout or a cakewalk or anything like that. I think whoever wins this game wins by a touchdown or a field goal.
Yeah, definitely. I anticipate it to be very, very close as well. The last 1 p.m. Eastern game we're going to go to is the Eagles at the Giants. The Eagles coming off that win, but it was marred by Nick Sirianni with his just foolish off the field antics. The Giants coming off a bad loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. It looks like we lost Ben due to some technical difficulties, but hopefully we will get him back. But Jonathan, are you going with the? Are you going to go with the Eagles, or are you going with the Giants?
I'm going to go with the Eagles in another close one. I think they barely slide by in this one as well. It's going to be kind of comical in a sense, because this should be another team that they really blow out as well, but they're not going to blow them out. I thought that last week with the Cleveland Browns, and I was wrong, and they're not going to do that to me again. So I'm going to say Eagles in a close game against the New York Giants. I think the New York Giants hang tough against them. And I think the Eagles will make some mistakes in this game, some self-inflicted mistakes, but they will find a way to survive in the end.
Yeah, I got the Giants. I don't trust the Eagles. They've been up and down offensively and defensively. I don't know what you're going to expect. It's in the Meadowlands. I think the Giants bounce back. But let's quickly breeze through these because I know, Jonathan, you have to go soon. Really appreciate you coming on.
No
Raiders at Rams. This is your game, man. In LA, man. Raiders play the Rams. You picking your own team, or are you going with the Raiders?
No, I'm going to pick my own team because of what I mentioned earlier in the show when we talked a little bit about the Rams. I like the Rams. They're favored at home. They play well at home against AFC West opponents, so they should take care of business, and they have looked good at home. So, yeah, give me the Rams. The Rams win. They beat the Raiders, and we talked about how dysfunctional of a franchise the Raiders are. So, the Rams, shorthanded and all, they should win this game.
Yeah, I agree. I got to go with the Rams. Just better team, even though both teams are decimated. Definitely got to go with the Rams to win this game. Plus, it's in SoFi as well. Next one, Panthers at Commanders, 4:05 p.m. I don't even think we need to really explain it. For me, Panthers suck. Commanders, they have a really high explosive offense.
Yeah.
I think the Commanders are going to blow them out. Like, I think Jaden Daniels has an amazing day running the football and throwing. The Panthers defense is just so awful right now. Like, your high school JV team could put points up on the Panthers. That's how pathetic the Panthers are right now. Like, the Panthers. Yeah, go ahead.
No, Jaden Daniels is going to torch that defense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that by the end of that game, that's going to be the storyline of that game, is that he actually destroyed them.
Yeah, I agree. I think
that's going to feature on the front page in Washington, D.C. after that game's over.
Don't be surprised if that game ends up like 50-13 or whatever, because that's how bad the Panthers defense is. The next one, we go to this one, the game of the week, the Super Bowl rematch, Niners and the Chiefs, Purdy versus Mahomes. Niners trying to get that Chiefs monkey off their back. And Jonathan, I'm going to go with the Niners to win this game. It's at Levi Stadium. The Niners offense is humming right now with Brock Purdy and, no Christian McCaffrey, but they're still putting up 30 plus points a game. I know that defense is not playing up to the task, but I think it's going to be, but the Chiefs offense has been kind of hit or miss, with their lack of weapons. I think it comes down to, the last drive. And I think the Niners finally game-winning field goal, get the Chiefs monkey off their back. And I think this is going to be one of the best games of the weekend. Can't wait to watch it. But give me the Niners by 3 to win this game. How about you?
I'm with you on that. The Chiefs are beatable, even though they find ways to win football games. They've done a tremendous job all year finding ways to win football games. They haven't always been pretty. It's been ugly, a lot of ugly wins. And I think eventually winning football games ugly, it catches up to you when you face a really, really good team. And this time they're playing the 49ers. There's no margin for error. And if you play ugly against the 49ers, you could get blown out. So give me the 49ers. Patrick Mahomes hasn't played all that well. I think this is the game where a team comes along and gives them a wake-up call. And this might be that game. So I'm going with the 49ers.
All right. So we both go with the Niners. Last 3 games. Sunday Night Football, Jets at Steelers. Jonathan, I'm going with the Jets. I love the move of Devontae Adams. I think he fits perfectly. I think him and Aaron Rodgers gel from the beginning. That offense will click. And here's the thing. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't know if you know this, but they're most likely going to start Russell Wilson in this game. Yeah. So Russ hasn't played in a while. Yeah, Russ hasn't played in forever. He's going up against the Jets defense. I think he turns the football over a couple of times. I think the Jets offense will gel from the beginning. Give me the Jets to win this game in Pittsburgh. I just don't trust that offense for the Steelers.
Yes, give me the Jets as well. I'm going to go with the Jets. They got Devontae Adams now. And the Steelers offense has been anemic. That's the word I like to use for it. And I don't think they're going to put up enough points to be able to compete with the Jets. I don't think they match their level of intensity. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Jets in that one as well.
All right, let's go to Monday Night Football. We got the Ravens and the Bucks at 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. This one's tough because I could see either team winning this, but I'm going to go with the home team. Give me Baker and the Bucks to win it. I think it comes down to the wire again. With this team, and I just trust Baker. Baker's got that clutch factor, and you can never rule him out, especially when the game is tied, or it's he needs to drive late to either win the game or tie the game. So give me the Bucks, but I think it's going to be a very, very intense, close ball game.
In Baker, we trust. I like the Bucks in this game as well. I mean, this game is tricky. It's tricky because both of these teams are very competitive, and both of these teams have well-respected quarterbacks that play this game at such a high level. And I like both Baker and Lamar, but if I have to choose one team, it would be the Buccaneers, edging it out in what could possibly be a shootout among both teams.
All right, and then the last game of the weekend, it's the Chargers at the Cardinals. I think this is actually an underrated game. The Cardinals play in the desert. Whenever the games are in the desert, it always seems like it's a shootout. Both quarterbacks, Kyler and Justin Herbert, are very respected and very good. Jonathan, I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals pull the upset. The Chargers offense just has been very clunky this year. With Herbert, they're running the football a lot more. I think that it's going to be a close game, but I just think Kyler, with his breakout speed and also his passing abilities, I think that's going to help the Cardinals late in the game. How about you?
Yeah, that should propel them to victory with what Kyler Murray has done this season. I give the Cardinals the advantage in this game over the Chargers. And the Chargers this season, to me, they've been a hit or miss. One game they'll establish the run. Next game, it's all passing plays. I mean, they just don't know what they want to do with the offense. So with that going on, just give me the Cardinals to win it.
Yeah, exactly. The Chargers, like you mentioned, just hit or miss. They don't know. They don't have an identity right now.
Right,
So
they
we
don't.
both
They
got
really don't.
no, they don't. But Jonathan, man, it's been great having you on the show, man. First time we've done a show in like a year plus, I feel like.
It's been a while, right? Since we've done
Yeah,
something.
yeah, man. It's been a long time, but it was so much fun to have you on and also have Ben on tonight. We definitely got to do this more often, man. But what are your
Definitely.
final thoughts for tonight's show, and where can the viewers find you and your content?
Yeah, so if you guys want to keep up with the Sports Judge and hang out with me, you guys can find me on my YouTube channel, The Sports Judge. Just go to the search engine and type in The Sports Judge, and a cartoon face of me should pop up. And subscribe to the channel. And you guys can follow me on Instagram, Sports Judge 85. You guys can also follow me where I'm really active on TikTok. The Sports Judge 85, I'm there as well. And you guys can check out the work as well on Facebook. I got a Facebook page as well, The Sports Judge. So look me up there, follow and like, and keep up with the content. Hey, man, it's great having me on. Thanks for inviting me on the show. I don't get invited on shows that much anymore. I guess because I'm busy doing my own thing with the channel and constantly trying to grow my YouTube channel. So I've been busy with that, and then just everything else in life. So, but it's been fun as always, and I love talking football. I think that the NFL has been amazing so far this season. It's been a lot of craziness in the NFL this season. It's been a bit bizarre, things that we don't usually see. But I think that's what makes us watch, right? Is the excitement, the suspense, the unpredictability. It's just so much buzz and excitement. And I just want to say that it's always a pleasure to come on shows and a show like yours as well, Isaiah, and just have a discussion about sports. There's nothing better than that. So I want to say thank you again for having me. It's been fun. It's been very exciting to be on, and hopefully we can do this again very soon.
Oh yeah, dude, we're definitely gonna, do this again. It was a fun night. I'm definitely looking for, what we need to do, Jonathan, is we got to do a Lakers show together. I know we're both very passionate about the Lakers, especially with especially with basketball being on. I saw your rant last year where you were just very upset at the Lakers for losing to the Nuggets. That was absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, but like Jonathan mentioned, follow him on TikTok, follow him on, his Sports Judge page. What he does, like his videos are really good. It was just so much fun doing the show tonight and basically running it back to 2020 and 2021. The last final thought I will say before we sign off is I know this is a football show, and I think, Jonathan, you'll agree with me, but I do want to give a shout out to Lonzo Ball because he hasn't played in 3 years. The guy came back for the first time in 3 years. Everybody thought he should retire, including myself. And, even though he put up 10 points, it wasn't like a lot, but still coming back first time in 3 years. Congratulations, Lonzo. And hopefully you can stay healthy and, have a productive career the rest of the way. So I just wanted to get that out there. But guys, it's been a very fun show. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, man. Looking forward to a great NFL weekend. Follow Jonathan at the Sports Judge, man. You won't want to miss that. But Jonathan, it's been fun, man. Let's do it again soon, man.
All right. Yeah, I'm down. Anytime you give me a call, I'll try to make it on for you for sure.
All right, man. I appreciate it. All right, guys. It's been a great show. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time here on The Extra Point. Have a great night, everybody.
Purdy out of the shotgun, drops a couple of steps, going to take a deep shot to Brandon Ayuk. It's the floated and caught.
Cousins, first read taken away. Left side, he throws. Wide open pitch.
being able to make a play on that football. That's where Sutter was so good last year. The red zone. Nix, a fake. They got to run. Nix, the fake. Another fake, and he spins into the end zone.
They're going to get a free play. Rodgers is the master at it, and a touchdown by Lazard. Jones on the fake, pressure coming, and he's sacked by Parsons.
God, corner. Open man Hudson. The throw caught. Hudson lost the ball. Looked like a touchdown. Instead, it's a turnover.
On the pocket. Cuts away from Chenal, who's trying to get after him for a second time, but the ball is thrown to the end zone, and it's caught!
On it to McCaffrey right up the middle, and a stiff arm. McCaffrey for 6. Duval!